It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
It's the most exciting sport on earth as far as I'm concerned.
Take a walk through the Nitro pits as we go one-on-one with the stars of drag racing.
Hi, I'm Courtney Forrest.
I'm Tony Schumacher.
Hey, you're with Matt Hagan.
This is Ron Capps, Matt Hagan's personal friend. You're on WFO.
Featuring the NHRA's Alan Reinhart.
Our events are truly an experience. They're not just a spectator event, they are an experience.
So get in, sit down, and hold on with host Joe Castello as he goes WFO.
Thanks, brother. Always love being on WFO, baby. Nobody brings it to you better than you, brother.
Now crank it up. It's time to go WFO. Here's your host, Joe Castello.
WFO, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro, the NHRA podcast that the winners win their way on. That's right, we have got AAA Insurance Midwest Nationals winners. We have got Steve Torrence. We have got Tanner Gray. We have got Matt Smith. We've got Stevie Fast Jackson all on the show. We're scheduling Robert Height for next week, hopefully to be on the program. He's obviously got stuff he has taken care of, but we've got a big show for you. Now, if you're not a subscriber, click subscribe. If you don't have the WFO Radio app, download it. It is absolutely free. All kinds of great stuff in the WFO archive, our Ignition show. A lot of people love it. It is very fun. It is funny. There's all kinds of great stuff. We talk sports. We talk NASCAR. We talk Formula One and NHRA drag racing in there. You get a lot of stuff in there that you don't get in here necessarily. But yes, WFO, subscribe to the podcast, and you will be rewarded, especially in the off season, because we keep on going. That's right. We do not stop after the Auto Club finals. We keep on going with our show. There is so much news and things all going down. So we got a great show. We're going to hear from Alan Reinhart. We're going to hear from some great guests and winners. But right now, I got to tell you about the people who make the show possible. Yes, we have sponsors and the holidays are coming, and I would love for you to think about these folks first when you're talking about getting gifts for your friends and your family, like Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure. You really want to make an impression on somebody? Send them on the Dragster Adventure. Go to frankhawley.com, an experience that will last a lifetime. They will absolutely love it. Aerospacecomponents.com. The folks at Aerospace Components make some of the best brakes, shifters, vacuum pumps, CNC components for race cars, street cars, hot rods, Mustangs. They have got it all. Go to aerospacecomponents.com. Stepping up big time with WFO Radio. Samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. 7-second runs. How about Mark Powick setting the record in the Samtech Factory Stock Showdown? 7:92.9. Are you kidding me? Leah Pritchett was the first in the sevens. Mark went most in the sevens, and even Archie Cohn going in the sevens with his Camaro. Leah Pritchett picking up the win. But if you want to become a high-performance engine builder, if you want to learn to become a CNC machinist, samtech.edu, the place to go. Tell them you heard about it on WFO Radio. HusseyPerformance.net. We're talking about custom copper head gaskets, the tightest tolerances in the biz. If you're an engine builder, if you're a race team and you're not using Hussey Performance, you got to check them out. HusseyPerformance.net. Hangstifers, metalworking lubricants. Their goal is to make you more efficient in the shop, in your machine shop. Go to hangstifers.com. Check out Hangstifers metalworking lubricants. CatSpotLitter.com. Oh, yes. If you've got a cat, go to catspotlitter.com. Subscribe, and it just shows up in the mail, and you don't ever have to carry a big, heavy bag of cat litter. And I know you're thinking, like, wow, these guys got a cat litter sponsorship, and he's got a coffee sponsorship. Rodax Coffee and Grills.com, Marvin Rodak. For my money, when we're talking about holidays, the Rodax Holiday Pack, where it's a pound of coffee, a bottle of his hot sauce, and a bottle of Spice Rub, is the best deal going. Plus, you can send them out to all your friends, and they will really get an experience. You know, the aroma of the freshly roasted coffee hits them in the nose, and they're thinking about you and what a great friend you are. RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. We'll be talking about our big Rodax meetup at the AAA Texas Fall Nationals in a couple of weeks. We're going to be down there in Ennis, Texas, and we've got some changes to the Rodax meetup. It's actually going to happen in downtown Ennis at the Fan Fest. So if you're thinking about going out there, it is Thursday after Hardcore Thursday, and Marvin and all our WFO radio listeners, we're all going to meet up at the Fan Fest. and kind of enjoy the whole thing. There's bars down there. It's a lot of fun. We're going to have a great time. Join us down there for the Fan Fest and a hangout with Rodax Coffee and Grills.com. Motorsportsguys.com. Terry McMillan, his new mail order venture. Open a browser, go to motorsportsguys.com. You can get Amalie Motor Oil through there and potentially a free hat. You just add it to your cart. You use the promo code WFO. It is the Vegas Win Tribute hat, which is no longer the biggest win in Terry's career now that he's a U.S. Nationals winner. But get your next oil change there, motorsportsguys.com. They've got K&N filters, all kinds of good stuff. And finally, audible.com/WFO Nitro. You can download and listen on your iOS device, Android, Amazon Fire tablets, Windows Phone. And unlike a streaming or rental service, with Audible, you own your own books. Great listen guarantee. If you don't like it, you can swap it. You can access your books anytime, anywhere, right from your smartphone. That's audible.com/WFO Nitro. And now it's time to get on with the show. Joining us now, he's the voice of the NHRA, called the action out there at Gateway, a sellout on Saturday, a great race on Sunday, headed to Dallas in a couple of weeks. Alan Reinhart joins us now. Alan, welcome back.
Hey, Joe, great to be back. There were plenty of highlights to talk about last weekend, no question.
So many highlights. Of course, the final rounds were just incredible. Great stuff going on. And, when you settle in for the finals, I don't know about you, but my guard goes down ever so slightly. Like, hey, we're here at the finals, right? Big explosion. Robert Height, body flying through the air. The Safari guys are telling me his first thing was like, did I win? Did I win? It was just incredible. And yes, he did win the race. It doesn't get much more exciting than that.
Well, he certainly won in dramatic fashion, which I think everybody could have done without. And to answer a question that I've gotten in my announcer email over and over and over again, the first contact the car made with the wall was past the 1,320-foot mark, so there would be no penalty for that. When the car's going as fast as it is, and if you watch it in slow motion, you see it go past the 1,000-foot finish line cam, and then you can see it go past the 1,320 finish line cam before it makes contact with the wall. And then at that point, obviously, the concern was twofold. One, was Robert okay? And two, were any fans hurt with the body getting thrown as far as it did? And I don't know how many people noticed. One of the first things I saw was a safety safari truck zipping over, and the guys jumping out and running over the fence and running over to check on whether or not any fans had been in the line of fire. But it turned out the body ended up hitting our Jumbotron screen, falling in between some trailers. And it's my understanding that there was nothing as far as a fan standpoint that anybody was in any danger or had any injuries. And Robert obviously got battered and bruised, but according to the text he sent me yesterday, I'm fine. I'll be ready for Dallas.
Wow. Yeah, just amazing final round. And what can you say? Tim Wilkerson, we'll talk about the actual competition of the day, but yes, so happy that Robert is okay, so happy that everybody is okay. But to your point, the question in the announcer email, it did bring up something that I was unsure of, and let me just ask you, and I'm sure I'll get a clarification, and if not, we'll work on it for next week. But the penalties that were announced earlier this year about crossing the center line for the Nitro cars between 1,000-foot and 1,320, meaning if you cross the center line prior to 1,000 foot, you're disqualified from the race. But if you cross the center line at 1,100 feet after you've already won the race, you still win the race, but you get a points penalty. Is that also true for hitting the wall?
That's my understanding, yes, because it's a boundary infraction no matter which side it is. You wouldn't have a boundary infraction if the car went left. You're going to penalize a guy, and if he did it in the right lane, it's then a penalty. If he did it in the left lane, it's not a penalty. So my understanding is that a boundary infraction on either side is viewed the same.
Got it. And in this case, it was after 1,320 feet, which means nothing. It is after the race is over in the shutdown area. But that was a question that was on the minds of some people, and including myself. Now, let's delve back into what we saw. First of all, Robert Height, really strong. Some other cars out there. Ron Capps, really strong. Tim Wilkerson, really strong. And we're starting to see the countdown points take shape as Tim Wilkerson storms to another final round. That's back-to-back finals for Tim. Robert goes through Dale Creasy. John Force in a very close race. Tommy Johnson uncorking a 394 against TJ, and then a 403 in the explosive final round. But it looks like, once again, Jimmy Prock, Chris Cunningham, and Robert Height loaded for bear in another NHRA countdown.
Yeah, I mean, and, as far as one thing you said, Robert Hight certainly had a great car. You look at what he did throughout the course of the day. They gave him the number one qualifying spot after the run that he made on Saturday, and then 393, 401 in the heat of the day, 394 in the semifinals, and then, of course, it banged in the final. And Tim Wilkerson, and I'm not taking anything away from Tim. I mean, he's winning rounds, he's making points, but he really was as fortunate as he was good. And I think, you can draw that up from in the first round when he and Matt Hagan both smoked the tires and Tim won. In the second round, Tim made a great run and just flat outran Courtney Force. In the third round, he and J.R. Todd both smoked the tires and Tim won. So going into the final, I think, at least in my mind, Robert was kind of a clear favorite because for Tim Wilkerson, which car is he going to bring? If he brings the one that ran 4 flat against Courtney, then okay, he's got a shot against Robert. But if he brings the car that smoked the tires in the first round, the second round, Robert's team hadn't stubbed their toe all day long, and I really thought it was the AAA team's race to lose. The other thing is, whatever happened in the final just had to be mechanical. I mean, yes, it had a cylinder out if you watch a slow-mo before it got down to the finish line, but the car had been so good all day, it didn't look like they were living anywhere near the edge. It looked like they were just sending it down the racetrack. And anytime you have that big an explosion, it's a mechanical issue. Something in the valve train broke, something in the bottom end broke. It's not just we missed the tune-up by a little bit or the timing was off a couple of degrees. It's almost always a mechanical failure. And I have not heard from anybody yet what it was, but I definitely expect to, if not before. I'm going to go to Dallas and just point blank ask.
There you go. 4 races remaining. Robert Hight leads J.R. Todd by 30, Courtney Force by 70, Wilkerson by 74, Ron Capps by 88. Ron Capps was devastated after a round 1 loss, losing on a hole shot. Had a really good car as well. The 5-disc brigade that continues to expand. Capps, Tommy Johnson, now Bob Tasca, and Matt Hagan told us in our Facebook Live at Driver Introductions that they were going to stay and test a 5-disc after the race. And so the 5-disc brigade continues to expand, but Ron Capps unable to capitalize on it.
I was really thinking about that. Who do you think was more disappointed? Ron Capps, who was a little bit tardy hitting the gas, and he would tell you that right up front. And this was not a deep stage, shallow stage, none of that kind of thing. If your reaction time starts with a 1, then you missed it a little bit, no matter where your car is sitting on the starting line. And that's what happened to Ron. Well, Cruz Pedregon then, after qualifying 15th, steps up in the first round, makes a 3-second run. Okay, hey, maybe we're going back in the right direction. And then the next round goes up against J.R. Todd and goes red by 0.005 of a second with a car that could have won the race. And I don't need necessarily the whole race, but certainly could have beat J.R. Todd. He outran him on that run. And it's the same thing. If you're Cruz Pedregon, okay, you're not in the countdown, you're not chasing points, you're not concerned about the championship, but you are focusing on trying to get your car back into winning form. And when it looks like it's starting to go that way, the driver makes a mistake that costs you a round and, at least another chance to experiment. And who knows what the potential is. You can never extrapolate out how far you would have gone had you won that round. But, in both cases, Ron Capps in the first round and Cruz Pedregon in the second round, it was a driver error, and both of them were devastated that they let their teams down, as I would want my driver to be.
Devastation is the word. Capps devastated. Cruz obviously very irritated, and I did not get a chance to speak with Cruz. But, how could he not be, because the win was there for the taking. 401, that car is looking so good. But that's the point. That's what we want, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat moments. We certainly saw them on display at Gateway.
We did. And, from as many times as you've heard me say, drag racing is the right place at the right time kind of sport. Robert Hight in the first round has an 0.98 reaction time, gets away with it. Ron Capps has a 101. That's 0.003 of a second difference. Doesn't get away with it. And, you go on through the rest of the day. Tim Wilkerson in the second round has a 111 reaction time. 111 against Courtney Force and got away with it. And, it's not like, you could take Ron Capps and just go out and go, okay, well, that's it. Put him out to pasture. It just, in this particular case, he didn't get away with it when some of the other drivers did. And that's why you just can never, ever let your guard down and assume that you're going to succeed. You've got to be, game on focused every darn time you go up the starting line.
Coming out of the number 2 spot, you got to run Cruz Pedregon first round. Puts up a 399. It's just so tough out there. And, of course, that's why we love it. That's the fun of it. All right, let's move over to Top Fuel. And, of course, we wish Robert going to be back at very happy he and everybody okay. Steve Torrence, Top Fuel.
Every indication I have, and that includes directly from Robert himself, is that he will be back in the car in Dallas.
There you go.
So,
there you go. And that's the best we can do at this point.
I think he's also very glad to have a week off this week, because when you go through one of those things and you're just kind of stiff and sore, it's nice to have a little recovery time.
Anybody who has spent any time in the gym, like working muscles, know it's like 3 days later that you feel the real soreness. So, day after, midweek, I'm sure Robert is going to be hurting big time. But glad he was able to emerge from the car. Moving to Top Fuel, and Steve Torrence, we talked about it, on a mission. He's got a new policy about at the track race day communications. We are scheduled to have Steve on this show as we did last week, but now 2 for 2. And you said flat out right in the start of the countdown with total confidence, Steve Torrance's countdown to win. They're on a mission. They're going to go do it. And so far, they've got a perfect countdown going. Maybe a little early to talk about a perfect countdown, but they've got one going right now. 2 races, 2 wins.
You can't win 6 in a row if you don't win 2 in a row. And the car right now is doing what they want it to do. It's responding just unbelievably. And obviously, all the guys are buying into the mission. They know what their job is and what their role is. And there's nobody over there on the Capco team that's just phoning it in. Nobody's there going, okay, well, let's get through this weekend because I got plans for Monday. They are all singularly focused on putting together a perfect car so that when Richard Hogan makes whatever minor adjustments he makes, it responds, and it's doing it right now. And you certainly can't argue with the success. I mean, on Sunday, 375, 377, 377, and then 377 in the final. There's a lot of top dragster guys that don't have cars that consistent. And, it's just right now, everything they're doing, the car's responding to. And if they can keep that going, they are going to be very, very difficult to beat.
Now, we are watching, it's really cool because it is a family team. And while Billy comes out from time to time, most of the time it's a single-car team. And they have just got a great program. Richard Hogan, who's going in for a procedure this week, has been in and out. And Steve talked a lot about him getting patched up this weekend. And they meet Clay Millican and David Grubnick in the final round. And I had a lot of people come up to me and tell me about what great friends David Grubnick and Richard Hogan are and how, they both live in Montana. And why do they both live in Montana? Hoagie told me at the end of the race that they worked together on the Montana Express way back in the day. That's why they both live out there. And they're like best buds.
Absolutely. But, that has nothing to do with it when you pull your car up in the starting line. You're here to win. If you and your brother play for different NFL teams, you want your brother to succeed as long as he's not playing you. And when he's playing you, you want to beat him. I thought what was one of the highlights I just love watching. I love being in a position where I can see the racetrack, which at Gateway I can, and there are certainly some that I can't. But I love being in a position where I can see things. In qualifying session number 2 on Friday night, Richard Hogan and David Grubnick were like hand signaling back and forth to each other. You trying to run the 60s? Are you trying to do this? And they were kind of like laughing and joking and cutting up a little bit because they were going to race each other side by side with 3 little points and potentially the number 1 qualifying spot. And they were yucking it up. They were enjoying the fact that, hey, isn't this cool? It's me against you. And, they are very good friends when they're not in the car. There's just so much crossover there. You look at all the success that Clay Millican had on the IHRA side of the fence for all those years. One of the cars that was a pretty constant presence at all those races was the Twilight Zone car. Bobby Lagana and Clay Millican probably go back 20 years. They are very good friends. There is a ton of respect, except when I'm in one lane and you're in the other. Then, I wish you a very safe ride, and I hope your car won't start, because they know. I think the Capco guys know that the biggest threat to their championship right now is Clay Millican and his team. And the fact that they can have such a respectful rivalry, and the fact that they get along so well when they're not side by side on the starting line. And then after the parachutes come out, they'll both walk over and congratulate the other one on having a good day, or, however the race went. And I think that's what makes it fun to watch, is that the 2 teams genuinely respect each other, and they really enjoy going head-to-head. They're bringing out the best in each other. And
they're getting some breaks as well in that their closest rival going into this race, Tony Schumacher, in his 500th race, gets taken out by Pat Dakin. Pat Dakin with a great day going to the semis. Steve has got to go up against Leah in the semis and is able to take her down and put up 2 wins. back-to-back. And in terms of reaction time, Steve breaking out an 0.43 in the final round and just overwhelming Clay Millican with a 377. Very interesting. 2 for 2 now with Steve Torrence.
Yeah, and, he's going to be tough the rest of the way. I think that, I asked him about Dallas in the winner's circle, and he said, man, that was so long ago, we completely forgot about it. It's behind us. We're looking forward now. But I guarantee you he's going to have a little bit of trepidation going into Dallas when he pulls that thing up in stages for the first time in the right lane. And, the first time that he makes a good clean run down the racetrack, I think that's when it will officially be all behind him.
Absolutely, and maybe want to elevate and prove a point out there at the Texas Motorplex. Now, a bit of news that we did not discuss last week because, the racing news gods always wait until we've put WFO to bed for the week to come out with some big news. Coming out of the Coletta camp, Jim Oberhofer no longer with the team. This broke pretty much right after we posted the show last week, but it kind of works out in that we got to go out to the track and kind of hear the different angles. From what I have heard, it was a kind of a mutual thing after 30 years being in the same situation. Change is good, that kind of deal. Regardless, it is a huge story. Doug Coletta, now Troy Fasching, crew chief, going to try to get ready for, try to win the countdown, of course, this year, but get tuned up for next year as well. Kind of gets bounced first round by Antron Brown, who has been very resurgent, uncorks at 372 in the first round. But that had a lot of people talking. Jim-O no longer with Coletta Motorsports.
Yeah, I think that was a surprise to a lot of people just because they've been there for so long. And, there certainly have, Jim-O and Connie have had some moments over the years. I witnessed a few of them where, you're thinking, man, somebody's going to hit somebody in the head with a torque wrench here. And then 30 seconds later, it's like, okay, what do we got to do for the next round now? Let's go back to work. And it's just kind of the way that their relationship works sometimes. Sometimes they need to blow off steam, and they both knew the other one was there, and they both knew that after it was over with, it would be over moving forward. But I think if you look at, just where they've been, that team is stuck in a little bit of a, I don't know, I don't want to say funk. They won the Winter Nationals and haven't been back to the winner's circle since. And, the baseball analogy, I think, comes in. Sometimes you just got to change the manager. And nobody thinks that Jim-O forgot how to tune a car. Nobody certainly thinks Doug doesn't know how to drive a car. The guys that are working on that thing are doing fine. But sometimes you just need to shake things up a little bit in order to get a different result. And they're looking for a better result. I don't expect Jim to be on the sidelines very long. I know he's going to be tuning Roger Hennon's car when we get down to Dallas next week. So, he'll at least be back out at the racetrack. And I think he's going to be a pretty highly sought after property, because when you look at his record over the years, how he runs an operation, how he keeps a budget in line, all of his stuff, very clean, very organized, very, he's a lot of the qualities that somebody looks for in a crew chief. And again, you can't argue with the fact that, he knows how to tune a top fuel car. So I don't think he'll be sidelined very long. I think, this may end up better for both of them. It wouldn't surprise me if 5 years later they end up back together. I wonder how many people right now remember that Steve Torrence fired Richard Hogan 3 years ago or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yes. I questioned the move at the time. I questioned, I was like, hey, man, this guy brought you your first win. And they spent like a season apart and then realized it was a mistake.
Exactly right. And I think it's possible that could end up being the same thing here. That, you get to a situation where it's just, we need a break. We need to do something different. We need to, maybe we both need to go out and find out if there's something better out there, or if this is where we really want to be. And then it ends up coming back together and coming back together stronger. The fact that Jim's brother, Jono, is still at Coletta Motorsports in a very solid position with the DHL team. This isn't one of those, I hate your guts, fall off the face of the earth, I never want to see you again. I think this is more of a, hey, we need a timeout. And then I think there is a distinct possibility that somewhere down the road, those two could end up working back together again. And again, how many people right now remember that Steve Torrence fired Richard Hogan a few years ago? And that certainly turned out well for everybody. At least it's looking good right now.
Oh, yes. And the owner-crew chief relationship sounding a lot like regular relationships right now. We were on a break. We were on a break. Yeah. Let's move over to Pro Stock, where Jeg Coughlin was the number one qualifier in a field that was just insanely close. and that's what we have come to expect from Pro Stock. Jeg goes to the semis, gets bounced by Drew Skillman, who has now made back-to-back final rounds, and also won Stock Eliminator out there, which he has done a couple of times this year, but faces Tanner Gray, his teammate, in the final round. Tanner is able to storm to the final round, getting through Chris McGahay, Erica Enders. Erica pulls out a 000 reaction time and still gets beat after blowing off the tires. Vincent Nobile, who won the first race of the season, of the playoff season, gets beat with an 0:48 reaction time. Tanner goes to the final round, 0:04, wins the race, and is now looking really well for a championship.
And Tanner Gray in qualifying didn't look great. And I think they would tell you the same thing. He ended up in the number 7 spot. By blind luck this week, we were all staying at the same hotel, and I had an opportunity a couple of times during the course of the weekend to chat with Dave Conley, his crew chief, a quiet one-on-one setting away from the racetrack. And I've known Dave a long time. I don't claim to be his closest friend, but, I think that he knows that I know what I'm talking about when it comes to Pro Stock, and we can have a candid conversation that isn't going to be, hey, let me spill every secret they've got. But he basically told me that he wasn't overjoyed with the car that he had given Tanner in qualifying. But we're also talking about 0.02 of a second. We're not talking about being a tenth and a half back. And he said that he was fairly confident that they'd be good on race day. And you cannot question what Tanner did. Yes, Erica threw a perfect light at him in the second round, but Tanner's 4 reaction times on race day were 0:17 in the first round, 0:15 in the second round, 0:19 in the semifinals, and 0:04 in the final. That young man is laser focused on what he's doing right now, and he trusts that Dave Conley is going to give him a good enough car to win with. And Dave knows that if I give this guy a car, he is going to get it to the finish line. And, they maybe didn't shine as much as they would have liked to in qualifying, but when it counted on race day, they certainly hit all the marks.
That is a fact, leaving 52 points ahead of Vincent Nobile, 74 ahead of Drew Skillman, 81 ahead of Jeg Coughlin, Greg Anderson 5th, 90 points back, Erica 104 back. And I don't know, I'm feeling like that might be the cutoff, but going to need some breaks and need Tanner to have some struggles. Tanner is also in the news. The first place I saw it officially reported was Auto Week, that Tanner is going to join David Gilliland Racing on the round track side, DGR Crosley team. In NASCAR, basically, limited late models, K&N, and even potentially the Camping World Truck Series.
There has been quite a bit of talk about that, certainly over the course of the last year, that, Tanner drives a lot of different things. He is not just a Pro Stock driver, but he's driven some midgets and some sprints and has done some late model stuff. His brother Bryce is doing that as well. Tanner counts Kyle Larson among one of his very good friends, and we all know what Kyle's done over there on the NASCAR side, across divisions. And that's something that they had been looking at, and certainly was a possibility for his future. I don't think anybody was 100% sure of the timeline, but I think we all knew it was going to happen at some point. They were at least going to test the waters over there. And I think that gives Tanner even more reason to win the championship, because he knows he's not going to be back next year to try it again. Last year when they kind of dropped the ball in the countdown, and Tanner would tell you that point blank, that they're not going to have a chance to come back and try again next year. And that's got them even more hungry to do it this year.
Yes. And, what can I say? I'm obviously disappointed that we'll be losing Tanner for a minimum of 3 years. That having been said, I'm a fan of all auto racing, and the kid is a talent. And if he's got the talent to go over there, that's what he wants to do. That's a passion. How can you be against that? Of course not. This is I'm going to have somebody to root for over there, which is nice.
Well, I think that if you have the desire and you believe you have the ability, that you should try something, and especially if you have the resources and you have the wherewithal to do it, and Tanner certainly does. So, you know what? He's 19 years old. If he goes over there for a couple of years and it works out and he becomes a NASCAR superstar, well, then God bless him. He made the right decision. If he goes over there and it doesn't work out for whatever reason, and he decides, you know what, drag racing is something that I know I'm good at, I've proven I'm good at it, that's something that I can do, then potentially he comes back. He's a very fortunate young man in that he is in a good position where he's got complete support of his family. He's got the resources basically to be able to chase any dream that he wants to. And if he's got the talent, and he certainly looks to have the desire, then I wish him all the best. And if it works out, great. And if it doesn't work out, NHRA will always be here if he wants to come back and start drag racing again. You know, his dad or his grandfather in years past would race and then not race, and then race, and then not race, and then race. So, you know, whether or not we've seen the last of Tanner in NHRA, I can't tell you that. But, you know, I wish him well in whatever he chooses to do. And if he decides to come back someday, he'll be more than welcome as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. But more intensity and more reason to go out there and try to finish the job. But I know there are going to be a lot of competitors that are going to be trying to stop him, frankly, because Pro Stock is as close as it has ever been. It was a very exciting Pro Stock race. Pro Stock motorcycle, Chip Ellis on the third Harley, the number one qualifier. But in the final round, it's Matt Smith versus L.E. Tonglet. Matt got there through Chip Ellis, through Joey Gladstone and Scotty Polachek. L.E. took down White Alligator Racing's Jerry Savoy, so the Nitro Fish beat the Alligator. Took down Angie Smith, took down Jimmy Underdahl. In the final round, Matt's 008, L.E.'s 018, and the classic little baby hole shot, 6/10,000ths of 1 second win margin going to Matt Smith.
And, you know, and again, I said a couple weeks ago when we started the countdown that there basically were 4 bikes that were going to be players, and that's 2 of them. You know, so far we've had 2 of those 4 have won the first couple of countdown races. You know, I don't know that you could get a picture of disappointment that was more clear than what we saw on the Iranas in the first round when, you know, Hector Arana Jr. had the problem bike quit right off the starting line, and then Hector Arana Sr. went red after qualifying solidly right in the middle of the field. And, you know, when you win the first race of the countdown to the championship, you know you've got a fast motorcycle. You feel like you got a little momentum on your side, and then you go up there and all of a sudden the mechanical takes you down first round. All of the good that you did a week ago in Reading is all but erased right now, especially when Matt Hines, who made it to the final Matt Smith, who made it to the final last time, makes it to the final again, and this time closes the deal. And, boy, that new EBR bodywork has got a whole lot of folks talking because, man, does that thing run fast down the back. You better be out in front of Matt Smith at 1,000 feet because he's going to run another mile an hour or 2 faster than you do down the back. There's just no question about that right now.
Yep. Yeah, spent a whole lot of time pushing a less aero bike through the air and obviously had to build the power to do it, and now that power is on display. And, of course, Matt, who is a champion in his own right, putting up a 008 when it mattered most. L.E. Tonglet going to be very strong, and the Harley's yet to get a win in the countdown, so they're going to factor in at some point. Pro Stock motorcycle, very, very exciting. Looking forward to seeing how that all shakes out. Pro Modified, Stevie Fast. How about this guy? Has awoken at just the right time. They are not in a countdown situation, but now it is back-to-back wins for Steve Jackson.
Yeah, he had a pretty good race car. The fact that the weather was good in St. Louis, and we had 4 solid qualifying sessions, there were cars that ran 577, didn't even qualify for the event. And, you know, just being a part of the field was something, and then being able to win it was something else. And Stevie had a really good car, did a pretty good job holding on to the steering wheel, you know, reaction times in the first 2 rounds, 018 and 019. And then, you know, was able to rack up his second win when Chad Green had his issues in the final round. But I'm not sure Steve Jackson's got enough time to legitimately come back and win the championship. He's got 3 more races to do it, but he definitely right now has got a really good car, and he's got a lot of swagger. And, you know, he's a guy that he's a guy that's not afraid to talk the talk, even when his car's not winning back-to-back races. So it's fun to watch right now.
And he did what we often talk about, in that if you need a job done, you got to do it yourself. Runs Ricky first round and takes down Ricky. And, you know, Ricky Smith started off the season so strong, but right now is kind of hunting for it. Had an 064 light, ran 585 first round, and just got bounced by Steve Jackson. And then in the semis, Mike Janis, who is going rounds and trying to win the championship as well. Stevie Fast leaves first, puts up a 73 to a 77, and beats both guys that are in front of him in the points, then goes on and wins the final round. So if you want to do something, you got to do it yourself. He just proved that.
Yeah, and he certainly had performance in his car as well. You know, when you look at the fact that 3 of the 4 rounds, he had low ET of the round. And in the second round, if I'm not mistaken, he had second low ET by 0.006 of a second. So he's got a car that's doing what he wants it to do, being able to adjust to the changing track conditions and not lose a lot of performance. And he also has a lot of confidence. He's doing a good job behind the wheel right now. So, you know, 3 races left. We'll wait and see. Mike Castellano going red in the semifinals was one that I think dropped a lot of jaws because, you know, when you're the number 1 qualifier when you made the all-time quickest run in the history of the sport in qualifying, and when you're running like he's running, as a general rule, you don't feel like you have to press the tree. But that certainly opened the door for Chad Green to make it into the final round, and then Chad suffered the same fate in the final when he left a little bit on the early side.
46 points ahead of Mike Janis, 46 points ahead of Ricky Smith, 87 ahead of Steve Jackson. So, yeah, he's still got some ground to make up. Going to have to take out these guys early in the rounds or have them go out. But we've certainly seen that in the past. E3 Spark Plugs Pro Modified. Very interesting. And, yeah, the quickest field ever. It was just awesome to watch. Other winners. David Rampy, number 99. Here he is, right on the doorstep now of 100 wins.
Yeah, it'll happen before the end of the season, I'm relatively sure. I'm not 100% sure if he's planning to go west, but I'm sure he'll be in Texas, and I'm pretty sure he'll be in Charlotte, and I expect him to just get that milestone out of the way. I think that he, like a lot of people, are tired of waiting on it and tired of hearing about it, and he just would rather put that thing to bed and then get on with the rest of his life, and he's got a really good race car right now. Absolutely.
Greg Stanfield, Superstock, they were busy this weekend with all the Samtec cars, but Greg found some time to go out and win Superstock.
Yeah, in the 87 Camaro that took him to 4 championships. He is so comfortable in that car. It's pretty amazing. And a fun field, too. A lot of heads-up matches coming down late in the rounds Saturday night and during the course of the event, which makes the category a lot of fun to watch. And, Greg Stanfield didn't win 4 championships by accident. He's pretty darn good.
Greg's got a WFO sticker on the car, too. I think that brought him a little luck. Drew Skillman, stock eliminator, makes the final round, both categories, and comes up a little bit short in pro stock, but was able to win in stock eliminator. Won out there at the Mile Highs as well. And Drew has said that he is going to focus on his Lucas Oil Series sportsman racing next year rather than pro stock. And we see why. This guy is a natural, really gets the job done, and takes home the Wally in stock eliminator.
Well, Drew, like his father and his grandfather, just really enjoy coming out and racing in the sportsman ranks. The camaraderie and the people and the enjoyment, and they have very good equipment and certainly have the ability. So what's going to be bad news for pro stock fans is good news for the rest of the pro stock field, and it's certainly not good news, I would guess, if you're a stock or super stock racer, because you're going to have to deal with Drew Skillman on a much more regular basis next year.
Super Comp first time winner Rick Hughes, taking down Don Higgins, and always love a first time winner. He was super stoked and pumped up and happy.
Yeah, you never forget your first win, no matter when and where it is. And when you go through a field like we had there and are able to close the deal on Sunday afternoon, get to come down on the return road in front of all the crowd, that's always a special moment. Glenn
Butcher, first win in Top Sportsman. Jennifer White getting her second win in the White Noise Dragster. They are WFO radio listeners. Stevie Fast, of course. Leah Pritchett back-to-back in Samtec Factory Stock Showdown. We saw the first 7-second runs officially in the NHRA, and that milestone was just blown right through. Leah runs mid-sevens. Mark Powick bests it, and then even Archie Cohn getting the first 7-second run for a Chevrolet Camaro out there, all in the same event. But in the end, it was Leah Pritchett who took the win.
Yeah, her Dodge is running really well right now, even after they did the minor weight adjustment after the U.S. Nationals. Kevin Helms has got a really good handle on those cars. He certainly knows what he's doing, and Leah has gotten very comfortable in a stock eliminator format car right now. So look out. It's going to, it continues to be fun to watch those cars because the competition level, the performance level on all of them, but some people look at it and think the Dodgers have a little bit of an advantage right now, and potentially they do, but all of that stuff is cyclical. How many races did we go where the Chevrolets looked like they were running roughshod? A couple of years ago, if you had a Mustang, you almost had kryptonite. The guys are all working at finding stuff, and right now it seems like the Dodgers have found something that the rest of the teams haven't found yet, but I think we're all pretty certain that they're going to at some point. And I want to apologize to Jennifer and Jeff White, because I always go through and look at the stats and look at the stuff when we get into the late rounds for, who's been here and who's not. And Jennifer White spells her name with one N, and I spelled Jennifer with 2 N's. And so when I went in and punched in Jennifer White, and it came back, had never won. And I thought, wow, really? I thought she had. But you know what? The computer doesn't lie. So we didn't give her credit for having won Bristol before until after it was over with, when went back, double checked, and found the mistake. So I apologize to Jennifer and Jeff. Certainly didn't mean to slight their accomplishments. But Jeff said on one of the online forums that they've been struggling with the car, having erratic reaction times, that Jennifer had been basically taking the blame, and Jeff was certain it wasn't her fault. And he believes now he found what has been making the car erratic. And that was a big part of the reason that she was so consistent this weekend. The car has always been deadly consistent. And now if they have figured out why every once in a while there would just be a 40 reaction time for no particular reason, and he believes he has solved that mystery. So if that's the case, then she is going to be very tough when she heads to a home state race in Dallas.
Jeff sent me a real nice email a long time ago about the show and how he listens and all. And then I spoke with him out there for a few seconds, and I think he said something along the line of this might have been their first round win in a while because of those challenges. And so good to see them getting back out there. But then finally, I think the win of the event, Tim Nicholson Super Gas reverse throttle stop. We did a feature on him on NHRA's Facebook page. We did a Facebook Live. It got like 63,000 views. We had like 600 people on there live checking out this little small block 4-speed Lenko car that crosses the finish line stripe at 100 miles per hour, and he wins Super Gas. And the crowd went wild. They all cheered because they got it.
Well, I think it's kind of like Lane Weber when he went to the final in stock out there in Denver. You know, when you look at so many people that do kind of the same thing because that is accepted as the norm, the better way, the most consistent way to do it, and then you find somebody who bucks the trend, then all of a sudden, you know, an underdog has a whole lot of friends just because he's different. And Tim Nicholson does. Chris Garrison was doing the same thing last week in Reading, and I can't help but think for Chris Garrison, if he had made the run in the semifinals, if the outcome would have been different because the weather was different, there was changes. And I'm not sure if I mentioned this to you or not, but he sent me a note afterwards because I'm sitting up there thinking in Super Comp, why would you not take a bye run? You know, he did the burnout, backed up, idled, staged, and then backed up and never went down the racetrack. And I was baffled. And the reason he did that was because the throttle cable broke. Had there been somebody in the other lane, he would have lost the round. But since all you have to do is stage the car under its own power, he certainly had the presence of mind to idle up there and take the tree, but he didn't get the practice run that he needed for that condition and then broke out in the final round. But he plays the same game where instead of slowing the car right off the starting line and then turning it loose and charging down to the finish line at high speed, you charge down the first 1,000 feet and then the throttle stop kicks in. And so you're coasting basically down the last 200 or 300 feet of the racetrack, and the guy that's chasing you has to try to make a decision when he's going 50 or 60 or 70 miles an hour faster, you know, to try to either get there in front by 2 inches or not get there. And it's a form of racing that most super racers don't do. There are a lot of bracket racers that are used to having a 30 or 40 mile an hour differential, and I'm not sure that would be as big a curve to them. But for people that focus intently on super gas and super comp racing, very rare is the occasion you've got a finish line differential of higher than 15, 18 miles an hour. When all of a sudden you've got one that's 70 miles an hour, you're way out of your comfort zone. And if you're Tim Nicholson or like Chris Garrison last week that has a lot of confidence in what your car is going to do, you just basically go down there and shut your eyes and let them make a choice.
Yeah, it's amazing. And he says, you know, he doesn't try to judge it down there. He just sets it up to be 990 and does his thing, and it certainly worked out. His previous best was semifinals a couple of years ago, and gets the job done. Everybody was fired up. You know, the throttle cables, think about Chris Marshall at Indy, throttle cable bracket breaks. He's winning, and then he loses. Scott Palmer this week, first round, throttle cable. This darn throttle cables, Alan, the source of a lot of heartbreak.
They are, and I actually got a letter in my announcer email about that. If anybody's listening has a question for me, fire away. Announcer@nhra.com will come to me.
He doesn't do shout-outs, folks. No shout-outs, and he's definitely not technical advice. Don't hit him with that.
I'm not tech support. But when you think about, and the question came in, it's like, you know, why are we seeing so much of this stuff? Why is everybody, you know, why don't they just put on a new throttle cable? Well, they do. I mean, the throttle cables have a lifespan. Everything on that race car has a life expectancy. And when you get to there, you change it. But you also have to take into consideration, you know, you can drive a street car 300,000 miles and never have a problem with the throttle cable because what are you doing with it? You're pushing it down, you're letting it up, you're pushing it down, you're letting it up, just usually nice and gentle, and there's not a lot of load, there's not a lot of wear and tear. Whereas in a race car, what are you doing with the throttle cable? You're stomping on the pedal as hard as you can every time. And if you did that in your street car, you'd break a whole lot more throttle cables, I can promise you. But that's why that they have a cycle life on those parts and pieces. And sometimes it just doesn't quite make it. If you know that, you know what, okay, we're changing the throttle cable out after 50 runs, and it breaks on run number 48. Well, you probably put a new one on now, and you go, okay, we're going to change it out at 40 runs now, or whatever your number is. But when you get to this part of the season, all of that stuff has got a lot of runs on it, and so they're getting near the end of their normal cycle life anyway. And if there's an issue here or there, and another part of it that I don't know how many people think about how ridiculously technical this stuff is, but the throttle cable on a funny car or on a top fuel car is mounted on a bracket, which is mounted on a carbon fiber scoop, and the adjustment so that when the pedal hits the stop, the throttle blades are wide open without putting extra load on that throttle shaft and you don't have to be off very far to all of a sudden be putting a whole lot more load on those components that aren't designed to have all that load. And then at that point, 2 or 3 throttle hits, and you're going to break the cable, or you're going to break the ball on the end of the linkage. All of that stuff is just really highly technical. And when you think about as often as, they take the blowers off after every run, they take the cables loose after every run, how often they take the pedal assemblies and stuff out, especially in a funny car when they're doing the clutches and making the changes to get them back the right way all the time. That's no mean feat, but that's why you see throttle cable issues from time to time, because every time that thing's being used, it's being stomped to the floor as hard as it possibly can, and that's a whole lot more wear and tear than just pulling away from a stoplight.
There you have it. So true. So true. Alan, great job as usual. Great times out there at Gateway, a Saturday sellout, a packed house, in spite of the fact that there was a whole lot going on in town with the Blues playing and the Cards playing. We had all the drag racing fans out there for race 2 of the NHRA Countdown. We have got a weekend where the Mellow Yellow Series will be off, chance for racers to kind of, rest and replenish or work on their stuff, and then we're headed to the legendary Texas Motorplex the following weekend.
Yep, I'm definitely looking forward to it. And, I think you talked about the sellout there and the fact that the fans are coming out. I think a big part of that is because Curtis Francois, who owns the racetrack, and Chris Blair, who's the general manager, they have become pillars of the community. They do a lot of stuff with their racetrack when NHRA is not in town. They have a lot of events out there. They're very well known in the community, and the community wants to support their racetrack. If you're in the St. Louis area, this is like shameless plug that WFO is not being paid for. Sorry, Joe. Carroll Shelby, years ago, when he had his ranch down in Tiddlinger, Texas, started a chili competition that has been going forever and ever, and it has been in Reno for like the past 15 years. And this year, it has been moved. They are actually going to have this coming weekend at Gateway the National Chili Cook-Offs. 300 people cooking chili, 8 bands, 100 micro brews. It's just going to be a big old beer and chili and band party. And if you're in the St. Louis area and you don't have anything else to do, it might be worth going out and taking a look, especially if you like chili.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And they have done a great job. I actually, I was dropping off the golf cart at the end of the day, and some fan was like, "Hey, are you going in this direction?" And so I said, "Yeah, I'll help you beat the traffic." And so hopped on, and they started talking about how they used to go a long time ago to Gateway, but then stopped, and then the track was closed, and they decided to go back last year for the first time. And they had a great time. And so then they came back this year, and they went to 2 out of 3 days. They went to Friday and Sunday, and they had a blast. And they were talking about how the NHRA is really different now, and they really like the drivers, and there's personalities, and it just feels different, and that they love coming, and they're having a great time. I loved hearing that from young fans, by the way. They had to be in their 20s, like 28, maybe 30. But it was really nice to get their perspective right after the event was over, and they were very happy about the condition of the facility.
Well, not that it has anything whatsoever to do with me, but I'm very proud to be a little bitty part of the machine that is having some sellout crowds and is showing growth. Gateway, 4 consecutive years, has had solid growth in the national event crowd because the fans come out, they see what's been done, they see the improvements, they see what's happening not just with NHRA but also with the facility, and then they go back and tell their friends, and they go, okay, we'll give it another shot. But when you look at so many sports stadiums, what was it? The Redskins the other day broke a 50-year string of sellouts when they had a 20% empty stadium. You look at baseball stadiums, and you look at so many of the other sports that are struggling to keep the fans interested, and that NHRA is in a growth pattern right now. I am very proud to be a part of NHRA. I think we're certainly doing something right, and I hope we can continue to do it. And, any fan that hasn't been there, oh, yeah, I used to go to the drags 15 years ago and I quit. Come out and give us another look, because I think you'll be surprised at the positive changes that have taken place.
Totally agree. Alan, great job as usual. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
All right, Joe. Sorry to run so long. We'll chat next week.
Thanks, Alan. There he goes, the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, starts us off right each week right here on WFO Radio. We got a big show. We got Steve Torrence. We've got Tanner Gray. We got Matt Smith. We got Stevie Fast. We'll do my time at the end where I give you my thoughts and opinions about several things. If you want to hear more of my opinions, like hardcore opinions, then you got to listen to the Ignition Show. It is in the archive. You can download the WFO Radio app and hear all of our stuff from WFOradio.com. This podcast, everyone talking about podcasts, and podcasts are like growing and out of control. And of course, here on WFO, we've been doing it. We are about to enter our 10th year of WFO Radio. Think about that. 10 years of WFO. Very proud to have been able to keep on trucking all this time, bringing you the best in NHRA, Mellow Yellow, and Lucas Oil drag racing. But right now I want to tell you about Frank Hawley and Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure. Open a browser, go to frankhawley.com. Check it out right now, seriously. And, of course, they're helping bracket racers become better, and they're helping racers become pro racers, and they're helping people get licensed. But for my money, one of the best things that Frank has created is the Dragster Adventure, so that fans and WFO listeners can experience what it's like to drive a full-sized competition-style race car. 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. 0 to 130 in the quarter mile. Maybe even side-by-side racing if that's what you want to do. 866-480-7223. Give them a call. It makes a great gift. And what you can do is you can get a gift certificate for the adrenaline junkie in your family. Give them a surprise. And what they do is they look at the schedule and they see where the Dragster Adventure is going to be and what is closest to them. And then they can pick out how to use it later on their own time. It makes a great gift. 866-480-7223. Tell them you heard about it on WFO Radio. And countless listeners have sent their loved ones on the Dragster Adventure, and we've gotten a lot of feedback, and everybody loves it. You're driving the car, you're doing a burnout, you're staging the car, you're accelerating, then you're slowing the car, you're making the turnoff. The whole time you're interacting with Frank Hawley. What is better than that? 866-480-7223. It is the Dragster Adventure. They've already got dates open and scheduled for 2019. Gainesville Raceway, March 29th, 2019. 18 seats left. That's right after the 50th Amalie Motor Oil NHRA Gator Nationals. Wouldn't it be cool to hang out a couple of weeks or head back down there and check out the Dragster Adventure on such a historic track? Go to frankhawley.com to find out more information. Frank Hawley, one of our longest-running sponsors here on WFO Radio. Do it, the Dragster Adventure. We'll be back with Steve Torrence after this.
This is WFO Radio.
Hussey Performance copper head gaskets. Do you make big power? That's the question. Do you make power? Hussey Performance specializes in quality copper gaskets to your exact specs. Any bore, any size and thickness. From 500 cubic inch nitro burning Hemis to turbocharged Pro Mods to Honda engines or even big tractors. Hussey Performance makes the gaskets. Hussey stocks gaskets in increments of 1/1000th of an inch. And if they don't stock it, they can custom make it for any application. This allows racers to get their exact compression ratio that they're going for. Hussey Performance gaskets are the most accurate on the market. With nearly 40 years of experience in the copper industry, they know exactly where and how to purchase copper to the tightest tolerances. 0.5 thousandth. If you're a racer, you're thinking about, well, how long does this take? Typically, less than a week. They want to help you make the race. Next day shipping is also available. What to do? You got to call David directly, 724-318-8292, or go to husseyperformance.net. And one more thing, it's all made in America, including the machines they use. That is huge. 724-318-8292. 292 Hussey Performance copper head gaskets for you engine builders out there. These guys are supporting WFO. Check them out. It is husseyperformance.net.
Get fired up on the WFO line.
WFO, Joe.
954-889-6796.
It's been an absolute joy to be a drag racing fan.
Go wide open, and your call may be used on the show.
Or preface by saying I'm not a Kurt Busch fan or apologist. I don't know where Greg Anderson's ego has gone, but I know one person that's going to be a big-time villain in pro stock.
That's 954-889-6796. That phone line is always WFO.
Right now, though, I want to tell you about Hangstafers, metalworking lubricants. The folks at Hangstafers on board with big racers like Antron Brown and Lucas Oil Series or Sportsman Racers in the Racing RV's Top Dragster category. And their number one goal at Hangstafers is to increase the productivity in the shop. Metalworking lubricants, coolants, all kinds of stuff. You got to go to the website and check them out. And so go to hangstafers.com to find out more information. Alan Reinhart always says, like, the one thing that DSR and JFR have in common is Hangstafers metalworking lubricants. We're happy to have them on board, happy to have them helping our WFO radio listeners in their shop. Hangstafers metalworking lubricants, trying to make you a little more efficient in the shop.
Subscribe to WFO Radio on iTunes. Never miss a show. And don't forget to write a review. WFO.
Drag Racing Edge. That's the magazine. Subscribe online. Get the issues, $24.95. Keep up with your favorite sport, whether it be NHRA Mellow Yellow, Lucas Oil Series action. They cover drag radio. They cover it all. Drag Racing Edge magazine.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
WFO podcast, where the winners win their way on the show. It's almost like a prize. It's part of winning. You get to be on WFO Radio. And just amazing that these drivers, they love coming on. And we are thrilled, and we're about to get started with our drivers. But right now, I want to tell you about RoadAxeCoffeeandGrills.com and hype up the big meetup that will be happening as part of the Fan Fest prior to the AAA Texas Fall Nationals. As you know, this weekend coming up, there is no race. We will be hanging out at home, everybody doing their own thing. I've got my own cool thing going on that I will tell you all about during my time at the tail end of the show. Miami Hollywood Speedway, or Miami Hollywood Dragway, or Miami Dragway, or Miami Hollywood Motorsports Park back in the day, like 1966 to 1992, where I cut my teeth as a racer and an announcer. It was a huge track, and a lot of the bigs have been there and raced there. Guys like Don Garlitz, of course, Jerry Gwynn, John Force has been there. Everybody has been to Miami. Jungle Jim used to vacation down in South Florida and hit the track a couple of times a year. And it was just a great facility. I will tell you about why I'm bringing that up in the tail end of the show, my time. Very, very special event, though, coming up this weekend. I'm looking forward to it. But the following week is the AAA Texas Fall Nationals at the Texas Motorplex, and the Fan Fest is Thursday night. Now, typically, we have been going out to Marvin Rodax, RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com, and been doing a meetup, a hangout, and it has been fantastic in that racers have showed up in the past. Last year, Terry McMillan was there. I kind of think it was partially that was the good luck that, in addition to his nuptials, that helped him break through in Vegas the very next race, but I have no evidence of that. But it's just like the good cheer of hanging out at Rodax. Well, this year we're moving that event out to the Fan Fest in downtown Ennis prior to the AAA Texas Fall National. So if you're going to be in the area, you're a WFO listener, you definitely want to come out and meet Marvin and get to know everybody face to face. It is really fun. We have a great time. But you can also go to RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. Rodax spelled R-O-D-A-K-S. coffeeandgrills.com, and see all kinds of cool stuff he's got, like new coffee that is just in, Costa Rica Black Honey. It's very rare. It's got great body. It's got almond. It's got milk chocolate. It's got raspberry. It's got vanilla. Those are the flavors that are hidden inside the Costa Rica Black Honey. Also, the Funny Car Chaos Blend. It makes a great espresso with exceptional crema and explodes with flavor like a funny car. Yeah, exactly. Go to the website, RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com, or give him a call, 817-924-6821. We're always talking about the coffee roasted fresh per your order. We're always talking about my favorite, the Habanero Endorphin Booster hot sauce. We're always talking about the A26 Spice Rub. But he's got many other things, including tools for grilling, temperature thermometers. They sell grills. If you're ever in Fort Worth, Texas, you definitely got to make plans to stop by. 817-924-6821. Marvin has won contests in Texas for grilling. He knows his stuff. Go to RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com to check it out and give Marvin a call. And I really believe that the holiday packs are a winner for the holidays. Yes, I'm starting you out early. I want to get ahead of it. Make a list, call Marvin. He'll send them out to people, and your holiday packs will go to your people. 817-924-6821. That's RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. All right, time to get into it with our top fuel winner. Joining us now, he is your top fuel winner out there at the AAA Midwest Nationals at Gateway. He is 2 for 2 in the countdown. He is back, Steve Torrence. Steve, welcome back.
Thanks, Joe. I'm glad to be back. I enjoyed talking to you.
Yes, yeah, we've got like an exclusive with Steve Torrence. You said you were on a mission. You said you were going to keep your communications at a minimum and let your driving do the talking. It's happening. You have got a perfect countdown going. Great win.
Thank you very much. You know, I mean, we've been very fortunate and blessed over the last 2 years, you know, and Richard Hogan, Bobby Lagana, every one of those guys have done an unbelievable job. So I just got to give them all the credit. I mean, they've given me a race car that is just top of the pack everywhere we go, and it's an honor to drive.
The idea that you've been preparing for this all year long, and we've spoken with you many times over the course of the season. You had several great seasons back to back to back, but we get a chance to speak with you every now and again because you win a lot of races. And you've been talking about, building to this, and I listen and I believe you, but I didn't know it was going to be like this. You guys are really dominating a very close field, a field with great drivers top to bottom, but 8 straight rounds now, and your driving has been solid. The crew has been solid. You guys are putting it to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that we race 18 races and throw them away and then count all the last 6 because there's a lot of cars that have done really well that have fallen back. But it is what it is. So we've been preparing. We learned the lesson all too well last year of how the game's played, and we've been working really hard for this point. And I think that there are some really strong cars. I mean, you got Antoine's car that's coming around. You got Tony that's doing well, and you got Clay Milliken that's just on point every weekend as well. And so, I mean, he's as long as we can keep moving forward in the same direction, it's going to be a fight between him and I believe, all the way to the end. And I mean, it's pretty cool to see that the two right now, I would say, biggest championship contenders would be him and I, and we're independent teams. So I mean, it's pretty neat to see that.
Oh, absolutely, it is. Let's talk about that final qualifying session where you uncorked, unbelievable run down in the 60s. I think it was a 67, and you guys were both gunning for it. You're able to take number 1 and really set the pace.
Yeah, we kind of just got a little bit behind. Friday night, we were trying to run harder than what it ran, and the thing went out there and was really safe. And then Saturday morning, we knew that the track was awesome, but we wanted to get a good solid run in. I think we went 70 flat, 70 or 71 on Friday morning or Saturday morning. And it showed us what we needed to see. And so we were able to go out there and really just go for the throat Saturday night in Q4 and make it stick. Richard's never going to be the guy that goes out there and throws the Hail Marys. He's going to creep on it a little bit at a time. And I mean, that just is a pretty prime example of it. Grubby goes out there and swings for the fence most of the time, and Richard's a little more conservative. It's just the two differences in the two crew chiefs right there.
And they're buddies. That's something that a couple of people came up to me over the course of the weekend. I mentioned it to Alan early on in the show. And basically it was like, are you guys aware of what great friends Richard and Grubby are. And so then I talked to Richard after the race, and we talked a little bit about him going to get his procedure and how he's feeling. And he goes, listen, David and I worked together on the Montana Express, and we have been great friends for a long time. And that's kind of a cool sub-story to see, like, two guys that kind of came up together in the sport, able to battle each other for a championship.
Yeah, it is, and I mean, he's probably, similar to me and Antron. I mean, they're fierce competitors when it's time to race, and good buddies outside of that. I mean, both of them live in Montana. Both of them moved to Montana for, for John Mitchell and the Montana Express. So it's they got roots that go deep, but it's still, when it's game day, and they go at it. And I mean, it's pretty neat to see both sides of it.
All right, let's talk about you round by round. First round, you had to go up against Bill Litton. You uncork a 75-1 and take the win. Second round, Mike Salinas got AJ over there as a consultant along with Doug Cook, and that has been one of the best cars the past couple of races. Qualified ninth for this particular race, got through Brittany first round, and you were able to unload a 77 with an 072 light and load him up. And so here we go now, already to the semis, where you're going to run Leah Pritchett. Let's pause right there and talk about prepping for Leah, in that you guys have had a good rivalry the past couple of seasons. We know that, Gary and he works on your team, and we know that they don't even talk on race day. Talk a little bit about prepping for Leah in a race that was pivotal.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those deals where you go up there and you just do your job. I mean, I knew Leah would be on the tree, and I think, I stepped it up in the final and had a better reaction time than there, but that was my best light of the day, and I knew she would bring her A game as well. I mean, we were 54, 59 on the tree, and both had really good cars. I mean, you can't take that team lightly ever, and you never can take her lightly. So I just went up there and did what I had to do. I knew that they were going to be strong, and you got to be on your A game. And any of these races, you're going to have a lucky round, but as they go on and they get later, semifinals, final round, you got to do your job. And I was with them on the tree, and Hogan was able to outrun them.
Final round before the final, you guys are sitting side by side. Robert has his massive explosion, body flies up, hits the Jumbotron, lands fortunately where there were no people, but you're geeked up to race, and then you have to wait. You were able to navigate it, but sitting in the cockpit of a car and seeing that go down right in front of you, and, I don't think you got out, if I remember correctly, but it was just a delay. How does that affect you, what you're doing? Like, ready, not ready, and then have to get ready again?
Well, yeah, it was a long time. I did end up getting out for just a little bit, and I'm not the guy that gets all jacked up and has to be psyched out to go run. I was comfortable and calm and pretty relaxed. I mean, Clay's the same way. So, I mean, you kind of just stay focused and stay in the mindset, but enjoy the moment. I mean, you're going to the final round of a top fuel drag race, and there's not a whole lot that we ever want to do more than that. So can't complain. We're glad to see that Robert was okay. I mean, that was a pretty hellacious explosion that they had. And when they go out there and do that, yeah, you know that it's part of it, but it still doesn't make it any much easier.
You uncork a 77 in the final round. Clay 79. You left first. You won the race. The guys go crazy, and now you've completed 8 straight rounds of victory in the first 2 races of the countdown. And so looking really good in the point standings, but it's not over until it's over, and you guys got to go out there and try to execute in Dallas next race. You got a weekend off, and of course the history in Dallas. We were speculating a little bit earlier, like the first run out in Dallas, what happened to you the last time out there, may enter your mind. What are your thoughts going back to a track where this happened? And, of course, we remember you guys brought out the backup car, so it's not your first run down the track, but that was a pretty horrific incident. And I wonder, do you have, a score to settle with the racetrack when you go back to a place like that where you had a problem?
Man, I'll tell you what, the good thing was we were able to get back in the car the next round and go down through the track. Yeah, it did blow up, but it didn't run into anything. And then earlier in the year, I hopped in my dad's Super Comp car and went out there and run a division race. So I kind of got the jitters out of there. I didn't think about it at all until I got there in that Super Comp car, and it didn't bother me, but you just thought, wow, last time I went down this thing, it blew up running the wall, and it wasn't good. But I'm just looking forward to getting back there. I've never won there in Top Fuel. The last time I was there was in the A-Fuel car, and so we're just going to go there and try to keep moving forward in the same direction. I mean, all that's old news, and put it out of the mind and go racing.
You've had big crowds there in the past, like the Capco Suite, and I love it because they're loud. They're loud, and they've been with you the whole time, and obviously, good and bad. But it's kind of an interesting and different scenario when you have like a big fan base all together of your people all, rooting you on. That's got to be something of extra comfort when you go to, any race in Texas, but in particular the Motorplex.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you got all the friends and family there. You're gonna have to do some entertaining, some kissing babies and shaking hands and all that. But I mean, that's just part of it. And there's no better place to go racing than Dallas. I mean, that's my home track. That's where I learned to race, and I'm just looking forward to it. I'm excited about it.
You said on the stage something that was kind of interesting. You kind of were riffing because, you had a lot of pent-up discussion over the course of the weekend. But I don't even know if people know what Capco is. We're pipeliners. And you wanted to start explaining that. And I wonder, is this like a building on what we've been talking about the past couple of times, in that you've got this whole fan base of people that are working in the same industry, and now you're not repping Capco almost anymore. You're repping the pipeliners, which is bigger than Capco. And now you're kind of taking a little time to educate fans. I guarantee there are many of them that don't really know what it is. Is it a building contractor? You guys building buildings? You building parking lots? What are you doing? We're pipeliners. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I never really thought about it, and I was talking to Natalie, and she goes, I see all these people out here with Capco stuff on. Do they even know what it is? And I'm like, probably not. Probably don't have a clue what we are. But yeah, we're oil and gas pipeline construction company. We do installation of natural gas pipelines, some oil pipelines, but it's neat for myself and my dad and as a family to see our small family-owned business getting the recognition across the nation, and so that's why I just threw that out there. Said, heck, these guys, I see clothes out here, and people don't even know what it is.
That's right.
So it was pretty neat.
No, it was neat. It was neat. Steve, congratulations. What do you got planned for the the off weekend? What are you going to do? You're going to recharge your battery and get ready for the Plex?
I'm going to go down to South Texas and kind of hang out at the ranch this opening weekend in the bow season and just unwind.
There you go. Steve, thank you so much for coming on WFO Radio after your victory. That's 2 in a row. Now, listen, okay, it's only you have one. We could call it, you've won a third of the countdown already. And if it was the NFL and you went a third of the way through the season, people will be talking about, like, man, you could do something historic. It's still a long way off, I know. But have you considered the possibility? Is it possible to sweep a countdown?
I don't even want to think about that. We got 4 more of these things to do. We're going to take them one at a time. It would be neat if we could do it. I don't know. I mean, yeah, somebody can do it, I'm sure. And it might as well be us if we can. But, we're just going to go one round at a time. We're not going to get our cart before our horse.
Good answer. So true, but good answer. But, hey, something to think about. Steve, thank you very much. Let's get back to work. Appreciate you coming on WFO Radio.
Thank you, sir.
Steve Torrence with us here on WFO Radio. They are on a mission. I hit them with the perfect countdown. Why? Because if a football team goes 6-0, they've got to answer that question. And it's something to dream about and think about. Could it happen? Is any team capable of it? Could it ever happen in history? Is it possible? And the answer is, well, no, not yet, because it's never happened. but maybe it could happen. And an aggressive, hardcore team that's been preparing for it for a whole year, maybe it could happen, or maybe it couldn't happen. You never know. Like, I find it hard to believe that anyone's going to win 6 races in a row ever, period, let alone in the countdown, period. It's too tough, impossible. But congratulations to Steve and Richard Hogan and Bobby and Dom Lagana and everybody involved on that team. They are some hardworking guys. Gary Pritchett, hardworking guys who really live passionately and enjoy the moment, and they have fought for 3 seasons now for this, and to go out there and dominate the way they have. Now, it's not over yet. Clay Millican is tough, and Tony Schumacher's still there. It's not over yet. It's not over. They are still in the middle of the fight, but they are showing me that they've got what it takes. It's going to be very interesting to see how it goes for the remainder of the season. Tanner Gray, Matt Smith, Stevie Fast, all coming up on the show. If you're logging on to hear Robert Height, Robert obviously involved in that huge incident, explosion, taking the win. I talked to some safety safari guys on the rental car shuttle, and they were flat out like, Robert's first words were, did I win? Who won? Did I win? What was my light? All of that stuff. As intense as that is, that shows me like the heart of a true competitor. Just went through a horrific incident. All he's concerned about is if he won the race. That's just awesome. Crazy fan videos out there of the incident, just amazing. We are all very lucky as well. It is just a wild final round. What can you say? But we're working to schedule Robert for next week's show, leading into the AAA Texas Fall Nationals. So that's why you got to download the app. You got to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Google Play or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss a show going right into the off season. But right now, I want to tell you about CatSpotLitter.com. And Scott Palmer has right now, they are a little bit snake bitten in that the weirdest things are tripping them up. In this particular case, like a week ago, you may recall in Reading, they lost by a couple of thousandths of a second to Tony Schumacher in just an excellent race. And what can you say about that? But the body blew off the car. And the body, as it was ripping off, I guess it hit the linkage bracket of the throttle cable. And at this particular race, the throttle cable breaks. That was the speculation that was discussed out there. And Scott has got such a great attitude about everything. But I can't help think that, man, they're thinking, boy, we've had such a great year, and now some silly stuff has taken us down first couple races of the countdown. Losing a close race, and then a throttle linkage breaks. The good news is the folks at CatSpotLitter.com are on board to support the operation. And who knows, when luck turns around, they may break through for a big win out there. Maybe it'll happen out there in Dallas. Open a browser and go to CatSpotLitter.com and check it out. First of all, you'll notice that it's biodegradable. And it's sustainable because it comes from a reproductive fruit from nature, meaning coconuts. It's made of coconuts, so it smells nice. It naturally controls odors. If you got a cat, these are all important things. If you don't have a cat, this is speaking a foreign language to you. It absorbs 560% of its weight in liquid. It's all natural. It's 100% organic. But most important of the whole deal is they are supporting top fuel dragsters like Scott Palmer. They are supporting Jeff Deal's car when he comes out, and Dom Lagana with Magic Dry. All so important. This company really stepping up to support NHRA drag racing, and WFO Radio is part of that. So go to CatSpotLitter.com and click Buy Now. You can order a subscription that your cat litter just comes in the mail, and you never have to worry about it anymore. Isn't that what life is all about in 2018? Figuring out how things can be automated, process can be automated, so you don't have to think about it. It's like, oh, there's the cat litter, just in time. CatSpotLitter.com has got it all figured out. You'll never have to carry another bag of cat litter around. Go to CatSpotLitter.com. They are helping out WFO Radio. They got a great product. Everybody loves it. And if you don't have a cat, Magic Dry is the product for you. Check out Magic Dry because it's for your shop. It picks up spills. And most of you are using cat litter for that process. Anyway, go to CatSpotLitter.com. We have got more to come. Tanner Gray going to join us after this.
It ain't just wide open. It's WFO.
Hey everybody, this is Joe Castello. When I'm at the racetrack, I am always checking out the cars to see what's hot, what's cool, what is the nicest and best and most effective part piece out there. And what I am finding is that the folks at Aerospace Components have got it going on. They've been in business for over 30 years. Everything is made in America, and they are family-owned and operated. Aerospace Components is a name known throughout the racing industry as one of the leaders in manufacturing high-performance drag racing products. Their Tampa Bay area facility is equipped with state-of-the-art CNC machining centers and inspection equipment. You got to get it right. They get it right. They have racers all over the country that run their brakes, shifters, vacuum pumps, water pumps. They do so many different things. And if you go to their website right now, Aerospace Components, you can check out exactly what I'm talking about. And if you want your front brake calipers in pink or aqua or green, they can do that too. Check it out. That's aerospacecomponents.com. Check out the website and let them know you heard it on WFO.
Start your education at full speed with the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Accelerate your career as a high-performance engine builder with classroom instruction and practical hands-on experience in the lab, on the dyno, and at the track. In addition to the blockhead and CNC programs, SAM now offers motorsport EFI tuning and an Associates of Applied Science degree. And SAM is a military-friendly school, approved to train veterans and other eligible persons under the GI Bill. Start your education at full speed. Go to samtech.edu today.
Hey, this is Joe Castello, and we'll be back to the show in a second. But first, I want to tell you about CompetitionPlus.com. There's a reason CompetitionPlus.com is the leader among drag racing electronic magazines. Their trained staff is always on alert and always asking the tough questions. The end result is hard-hitting drag racing journalism with up-to-the-minute reporting. For over a decade, CompetitionPlus.com has been a pioneer as drag racing's go-to source for the latest in news, race coverage, and high-quality photography. Their trained staff thrives on getting the inside stories, and their columnists study their topics before they hit their first keystroke. When it comes to covering the races, they leave you feeling as if you've actually been to the race. CompetitionPlus.com is an honest-to-goodness, free drag racing magazine published by the most passionate of drag racing fans, who just happen to be journalists. Don't wonder what's going on in the drag racing world. Be in the know daily. Log on to CompetitionPlus.com.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
Welcome back to NHRA Nitro, WFO Radio. We are a podcast. The name WFO Radio comes from my previous radio career, where I started off in Miami and then moved to XM Satellite Radio, where WFO was born, WFO. And then we became a podcast. And using the word podcast a lot more, because podcasting is exploding and everybody is getting in on it, and they realize, man, this is great stuff. But WFO Radio is the podcast that you must listen to if you're going to keep up with the winning drivers in the NHRA, because we have had every winner every week for just about 10 years, and I'm very proud of that. And we go right through the offseason, which is something you're going to want to stay subscribed, and you're going to want to listen every week, because some of our best interviews actually happen during the offseason. You may recall John Force a year ago, late November. Just a great interview where he really addressed and attacked so many different things. So many different things. And you can go back into the archive and actually find that and listen to it. All of our shows are still getting listens and going back. There's a lot of people. They go back and listen to stuff from weeks ago. They're in their own reality of like 3 or 4 weeks ago, catching up on the podcasts. And we do a podcast, we do an audio show so that you can listen while you do other things. It is a big benefit. You can listen while you do other things. Like, yes, I am in a studio, and our studio is very cool. Got all kinds of drag racing-themed artwork and stuff in here. I could use some more exploded parts, though, Nitro teams. If you want to donate to the WFO studio, that would be up to you. But bottom line is, it's a listening product for a listening audience. Dump your morning zoo and listen to WFO. Right now, I want to tell you about motorsportsguys.com, though. And we're talking about Terry McMillan's new venture. If you want to get some Amalie motor oil, you can do it through motorsportsguys.com. If you want a K&N air filter, if you want all-star performance racing and high-performance parts from Motor State Distributing and Lane Automotive, they've got a whole lot of stuff. Go to motorsportsguys.com. They've got Wolf's Head, they've got Molly filters, and of course, the new Pro Racing 70 oil with Molly that's used by many pro drag racers, including Terry McMillan. Helps them tune the car because there's fewer drop cylinder moments. It saves the bearings and crankshafts and provides more compression with better ring seal and less fuel in your oil. They've got 70 weight, they've got 2050, they've got 1030, they've got 520. Pro stands for Professional Racing Oil, and of course Amelie's been doing it since 1903, better than it has to be. Now that it's available at motorsportsguys.com, no reason to not order it up. And the Vegas Win Tribute hat, you want a free Terry McMillan Win hat. Go to motorsportsguys.com, complete your order, add the hat, use the promo code WFO at checkout, and the hat will be free. Free! And motorsportsguys.com, just getting started, and of course coming on board with WFO Radio. Got to get the name out there. So next time you need something and you want to order online, go to motorsportsguys.com, and while you're at the website, bookmark it. Big thanks to Terry McMillan. All right, time to get into it with our Pro Stock winner. Joining us now, the Pro Stock winner out there at the AAA Insurance Midwest Nationals. He is also the points leader by 52 over Vincent Nobile. Team seems to be on a mission. Tanner Gray. Tanner, welcome back.
Hey, how you guys doing?
I am great. So, are you guys on a mission or what? It looks like it.
Man, we're trying. We're just trying to make sure we're going rounds and whatnot, and we got a fast race car, and I feel like I'm driving all right. So, I guess you could say that.
Yes, and we'll talk about your round by round. I also want to talk about the fact you're in the news, but I want to talk a little bit about qualifying. Dave didn't seem too thrilled with the qualifying effort. You ended up 7th overall, but then again, that means you were a couple of thou off the number 1 qualifier because it's so close. That might be a little deceiving or deceptive to think about it that way.
Yeah, no, for sure. Qualifying was stout in St. Louis, and I felt like we were a little bit off. I felt like we were just struggling on a colder track. Sunday it seemed to heat up a little bit more, and we were kind of able to show out and show what kind of car we really had. But all in all, we just did a really good job of rebounding on Sunday and not letting where we qualified get to us. Just kept our heads up and kept working on it and getting it better each round. And, for Sunday, it ended up coming around. The track conditions and how hot it got definitely helped us out a lot, evened everything out. But, man, it felt good. I mean, that was big for us to get it done there on Sunday and, extend the points lead.
Yeah.
It was just an awesome day for us.
Well, let's talk about who your opponents were. Chris McGahey qualified 10th. First round, he went a 55, but you bested him with a 54.6 and an 0.17 reaction time. We've spoken a lot about your reaction times, and you have indicated to me that you have a pretty good feel, like whether you're hitting it, whether you're crushing it and not having a good light, maybe something's a little different out there. How did you feel on this given weekend, the way you were reacting to the light?
I felt throughout qualifying, I felt really good. So, super, super confident what I had. Sunday came around and I felt like I was hitting it, but I wasn't, crushing it, I guess is, what you use. But, I just felt like I was just decent on it. I was solid, but, nothing too special. And, the thing that I was, pretty proud about is, how consistent I was. And, it's pretty gratifying to go up there and, even when I'm not as fast as I want to be, but, until the final round, I only moved like 4 or 5 thou. So I was really, happy about that. And, each round it just, kept giving me more and more confidence going into the next round. And, the only time that I really felt like I crushed it on Sunday was against Drew in the final. Even at that, I had it in a little bit deep. So I probably should have been about 9 to 10, 9 to 12, somewhere in there. That's really the only time that I felt like I, really ripped it when I let go. But, all in all, I was super happy with what I had all day.
taking down Erica second round. You were 15, she's trip 0, but your 56-8 got you there. Vincent in the semis, and those are the 3 rounds you're talking about. 17, 15, 19. That is hard to do, to be that consistent. And when you are that consistent, you put together a combination like that, it's very hard to beat any driver who's doing that.
Yeah, especially when, you got Dave and the rest of the guys that we got over there making the calls on that car. If I could go up there and be that consistent, be that good time in and time out, then it would be really tough to beat. I felt like we maybe, just got a little bit lucky against Erica and had them blow the tires off. I was hoping to be 6, and I figured she'd be probably 12 to 15, somewhere in there, and she definitely showed me differently. So I was shocked at that, but not shocked. I mean, you expect her to be good when you go out there, but I was hoping I'd be better than what I was, and I wasn't. But we got the win, so that was cool.
Yeah, big win there. Take down Vincent in the semis, and Vincent coming in off that race win. And now you got to set up for Drew. Drew is feeling. He gave me the indication he was feeling extra confident. He's made back-to-back finals. He was in the final round in Stock Eliminator, and he got the job done there and then had to hustle up to run the final in Pro Stock. That's got to be cool, period. 2 finals in multiple categories. But your 004 56-7, coupled with his tire shake, ended the day, and you won the race. But tell me about getting ready for the final round against your quasi-teammate.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big round for us because, if we won, I think that put us like 3 rounds up. If not, I think it was going to be like 2 or 1.5 or something like that. So that was a big round for us. And, we went up there and, Dave and Tommy share notes. So, they were both looking at the runs, and, Tommy looked at me and said, well, I guess it's going to be up to you drivers. And, I'm not sure what exactly they had to go on. I think they just were trying to get after it a little bit more than we were. I think they expected the track conditions to be a little bit different. But, as far as I just went up there and, like I said, I got in a little bit deep, and, that kind of played to the factor of me being 4. But when I let go, I knew I'd killed it. And actually about 3rd gear, looked up on the big screen up top and saw that he had shook. So, I knew I'd won at that point.
52 points over Vincent Nobile, 74 over Drew, 81 over Jeg, 90 over Greg, 104 over Erica. I feel like those are the drivers that have got a shot to win this championship. Remember, the finals is points and a half. I mentioned you guys on a mission, Steve Torrence on a mission. Like, winning this championship is a big, big deal. But all of a sudden now, the news that has broken, the first I saw it was on Auto Week. I've certainly been hearing about it, but you have signed with DGR Crosley Racing. That is David Gilliland and his team on the NASCAR side of the world, and you're going to be out there. I know you have a passion for that. You've got a talent for that, and now you're going to go give that a try, which means This is the championship or bust in the NHRA. Does that ratchet up your desire, your intensity? I would imagine you're fully intense already, but this is an extra layer.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely do or die right now, and it'd mean the world to me to be able to get Dave and all those guys a championship. They've never won one, and I'm sure they'll have more shots down the road, but I definitely would like to, be the one to deliver it. And, I see how hard those guys work, and they really and truly do deserve it. And then on top of that, Gray Motorsports has been trying to win one since 2008. So it'd be pretty special to me to get that from my dad and my grandpa before, everything kind of shuts down. But, I think that it might bring a little bit more pressure to me, but in the end, I'm looking forward to it, and I feel like I can handle it. So, I just want to go out there and just keep winning and, try to close this thing out. But, it's going to be tough. It's like you just said, you mentioned all the points and where everybody stood at. And, those guys in the top 5 are guys that I've been watching on TV and watching race with my dad since I was 8 to 10 years old. And so it's pretty cool to be up top, leading the standings and be this close to winning one. I mean, there's still a lot of racing left, but it's pretty cool to me to have a 3-round lead, on these guys. All of them are so talented in different ways. So, it's just been really cool experience for me, and been a lot of fun.
Very, very cool. All right, let's talk about the career change in that I love all auto racing, and I know, and we have spoken about your passion for other styles of racing, in particular on dirt, but, wherever it leads you, wherever that talent leads you. And as much as I'm, we're losing you, so I'm bummed, but at the same time, you're still going to be racing, and we're going to have a guy to root for over there. So that's great. But, tell me, I know you guys are still deciding on the schedule, and maybe some things are up in the air, but now that it has been reported publicly, people are buzzing about it. I'd like to know, late model stocks, K&N Pro Series, potentially Truck Series. That is the defined ladder. That's how you have to do it. You have to be very excited about getting this opportunity to go out there and, test yourself, showcase your talent, mix it up on round tracks in the heart of NASCAR country.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely super excited for it. Maybe a little bit nervous just to see how it all plays out, but man, I'm excited. I mean, all in all, that's what I grew up wanting to do. That was always my dream as a kid. I grew up around drag racing and whatnot, but I always loved the circle track racing. I loved how much seat time you got, how much more racing there is, and whatnot. And I think that overall plays a factor into it. And along with that, NASCAR just seems to maybe welcome the younger generation more than NHRA does. But I'm definitely looking forward to it. I think we're gonna run a full year of K&N East, maybe with some West in there, and then just kind of see where everything goes from there. So I'm really excited for the opportunity. I'm getting great equipment, probably about as good as you could get in, and obviously have a really good teacher with David being there, and then Todd, David's son, he's in the truck, so it'll be cool to be able to learn from him, and just kind of be able to have them there to pick their brains and just basically try to learn as much as I can in the short amount of time that I have, and try to be on an accelerated learning schedule and just race as much as I can and just see where everything takes me.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like trying to think of a question to ask you, is there anything that translates? But I feel like the answer is no, other than you're in a car and maybe in a pressure situation, you will have been tested in the past, and we know that you can handle big moments. But you mentioned the seat time and just managing tire wear, and everything is different in that style of racing. You're going to be on the track for a long time. You're going to be battling. There's going to be contact. And these are things that you have experienced in the past, but now at a higher level.
Yeah. I think, one thing that I'm going to be able to take from the NHRA over there is just, the NHRA has given me a different outlook, on how to race, I guess you could say, testing me mentally, and, I think that's big over there. I feel like in the NHRA, I've had a lot of time to mature and, learn from my mistakes. And, overall, I think in the end, it's made me a better racer. So, I'm very thankful for the time that I've had racing with them. But I just feel like, it's just a better deal for me over there. And I feel like, if everything goes to plan and, I drive the way I think I can drive, I think that I have a shot at eventually making it, into the Cup Series. I have great people behind me and whatnot. So, and nobody really looks at, older drivers over on the NASCAR side. So I got to come take the opportunity while I'm still young enough and just make the most out of it. But at the same time, it's been a real hard decision for me just because it's going to be tough to leave all the guys that I've been racing with since I was 10 or so, and it's going to be tough to leave them. They've been more like brothers to me than anything, and so it's definitely going to be tough to go and learn to race with new people. But like I said, I guess I just have to make the decision that I feel is right for myself and for the career that I want, and I think that's it.
Well, you're not losing your friends. You're just racing in a different style of racing. And I think it's, look, I love drag racing and I love seeing you out there, but we're going to have someone to root for now. And, like a personal connection, right? Like, man, there's a guy that we know what he's all about, and he's going through this new experience. And I think that's going to be fun and exciting. And, we talked about it a little bit earlier, Alan Reinhart and I. And, in the future, you can come back drag racing if you want, if you choose. That's up to you, and I think it's great. Now, what about some of your friends? You're right there in NASCAR country. You live in North Carolina, so you must be getting feedback all the time, maybe whether you want it or not, like people giving you advice. Oh, you should do this, you should do that, you should go here, you should go there. I know you're friends with some drivers. What has the, what has the consensus been about as you've tried to make this decision?
I've really kept it really quiet. It was something that me and my family kind of sat down and talked about, a lot of late nights talking about it. But, we really haven't talked to anybody about it except, it's just been kind of among ourselves, and just really thought about, what we wanted to do and, what would be the right step. So, I haven't had too many outside opinions just because of how quiet we did keep, everything. But, now that it's out, I've had quite a few people text me and talk to me about it. But, all in all, I'm really excited for next year and whatnot. But, the main focus is winning the championship. And, I'm not going to be getting in one of those cars until next year. I don't want to take away from what we got going right now. And, the main focus right now is win the championship. And then next year that'll be the focus. But, I want to be able to get everybody a win or a championship over at Gray Motorsports and to be able to fulfill that goal.
Tanner, great attitude and the right attitude. Look at and pay attention to what the challenge is right in front of you. And I know that is the AAA Texas Fall Nationals, third race of the countdown out there in Ennis in a couple of weeks. But congratulations on your big news. That is a big deal. To get an opportunity at all is very hard. And you now have an opportunity to go out there and test yourself in a different style of racing. And, you'll always be an NHRA Pro Stock racer to me at some level, but it's going to be fun watching you out there as well. Thank you for coming on the show. Congratulations on the win. Congratulations on the deal. And, you got an opportunity to finish the job. We'll definitely be watching, and I'll see you out there in a couple weeks. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Tanner Gray with us here on WFO Radio. Big move over to stock car racing, late model stock, K&N Pro Series, Truck Series, and the team has won the Pro Series East Championship the past weekend with Tyler Ankrum. So it's good equipment, and yes, NHRA Drag Racing losing one of the fresh young faces, but motorsports continues to have Tanner Gray, and we'll be able to root him on over there on the round track side of things. And the championship battle, he's in the middle of it, and it's not over. Jed Coughlin and Greg Anderson and Drew Skillman. Skillman wants to go out there and drop the mic as well. Walk off the stage back to Lucas Oil Sportsman Racing, which should tell you a lot about Lucas Oil Sportsman Racing and how intense it is for a guy like Drew to feel he's done what he wants to do in pro stock, and he's trying to win a championship, but he's going to have a great time out there in the Lucas Oil Series. But congratulations to Tanner Gray and Gray family for being in this position, and Tanner for getting his opportunity over there on the round track side of things. We got more to come. Matt Smith, we got Stevie Fast all coming up on WFO, and we want you to stick around. We want you to subscribe. We want you to never miss a show, ever, including the Ignition Show. But right now, I want to tell you about the folks at HusseyPerformance.net. We're talking about copper head gaskets for any application. HusseyPerformance.net has the best in the business because they know how to buy copper. They know where to buy copper. And that is really one of the biggest things when you're talking about copper head gaskets. You think of these fuel crew chiefs tuning to the weather conditions. Well, they need copper head gaskets that are in increments of 1/1000th of an inch, and Hussey stocks them. But if you've got something that needs gaskets and maybe they don't stock them, they'll make them for you. They'll custom make them for you, and that is a very big deal. It gives you the opportunity to know that you've got precision gaskets on there and tuned to the conditions regardless of what they are. HusseyPerformance.net on board with WFO Radio. Of course, Sean Bellemere competing for a championship in the top alcohol funny car ranks. Give David Allen a call, 724-318-8292. He answers the phone. It goes to his personal phone, and he checks every gasket that they ship personally. And one more thing, everything is made in America, including their machines. 724-318-8292. That is HusseyPerformance.net. We'll be back with Matt Smith after this.
Everybody, listen carefully.
Now you listen to me. Why do you listen? WFO, you guys are number one. Honest. Listen.
But right now, I want to tell you about new sponsor, Audible.com/WFO Nitro. Audible.com/WFO Nitro. And you might be thinking, well, what is Audible.com? And the fact is, listen, you guys are listeners. You listen like me. People who like to listen to something while they're driving, while they're on a plane. Maybe it's not music. Sometimes you want your brain to be activated in a different way. And that's where Audible.com/WFO Nitro comes in. It's anytime, anywhere listening. You can listen to your books wherever you are with their free app at home, in the car, at the gym. You can even switch devices and you'll never lose your place. They've got the biggest selection ever. No one's got more listens than Audible. You don't like one? No questions asked. Return it means exchange is easy. Go to audible.com/WFO Nitro. That is our own link specifically for you WFO radio listeners. Go on there, get your free trial, and try it out, especially everybody that's in the NHRA that's traveling all over the place. Let's get an education together. Let's learn about stuff. And check out audible.com/WFO Nitro. And thank you very much to the folks at Audible for jumping on with our podcast.
Android and iPhone users, download the WFO Radio app. It's sports radio for racing fans.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
The ultimate racing show, including WFO Radio NHRA Nitro, WFO Radio Ignition, the WFO Radio NASCAR Tailgate Party, news, videos, push notifications, and more.
I just hope I'm part of it.
Go to the App Store or Android Market, search WFO Radio and download it now.
Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. Whether you're a bracket racer who wants to get better or a thrill seeker looking to cross it off your bucket list, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School can put you on the right track. Don't believe me? Tell him, Frank.
No matter how little or how much experience you have, we've got a program for you. So if driving a dragster is on your bucket list, there's no better time than now. And if you'd like to be a pro, well, here's funny car champ, Jack Beckman.
Hey, this is Jack Beckman. Long before I was Fast Jack, I was a bracket racer who went to the Frank Hawley School. The time I spent there was some of the most exciting, intense, and fulfilling moments ever in a race car. I feel the curriculum Frank developed greatly helped me win not only the Super Comp, but also the NHRA Nitro Funny Car Championship. Frank put me on the right track. What are you waiting for?
Call them at 866-480-7223. That's 866-480-7223. Or visit frankhawley.com.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
So many of you know we had the new WFO Radio app update earlier this year, and that was something that was kind of working for a long time, the app update. for Android and for iOS. And I'm always telling you guys, like, write us a review. And that's not me. That's just common form. Anything on iOS and all these platforms, if you get reviews, then they ratchet it up. And we got a lot of listeners, and people like the app. I'm getting a lot of people that tell me, hey, I love the app. The app is working very well, especially for Android. It's great. Oh, my goodness. It is great, and loving the app. And so I went on there, and I looked, and we got a bunch of reviews. And I thought, wow, the audience is doing a great job. And so I want to thank you guys for writing those reviews. I got one negative review and like a bunch of positive and a couple in the middle, and that's fine. That's fine. Whatever the deal is, I would prefer a positive review and then an email like, hey, what about this? And we'll make it as good as possible. But the bottom line is, if you don't have the WFO app, download it. You can get it on WFOradio.com. If you got an iPhone, you click iPhone. If you got an Android, you click Android, and you get the app. And then if you want to write us a review, that's great. Or just listen on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. It is a great, great thing. We have got Matt Smith coming up. Right now, though, I want to tell you about Hangstifers, metalworking lubricants. I saw the Sackman family out there running in Racing RV's top dragster this past weekend. They've got Hangstifers on the side of that car. Tough category. Big time. They lost a session, so we didn't get to see the quickest bump ever, I don't believe. And Jennifer White takes the win. But the folks at Hangstifers on board with big racers like Antron Brown and Lucas Oil Series or sportsman racers in the Racing RV's top dragster category, like the Sackman family. And I think it is great. And their number one goal at Hangstifers is to increase the productivity in the shop. Metalworking lubricants, coolants, all kinds of stuff. You got to go to the website and check them out. They've been going since 1937 and always trying to stay ahead of technological trends. Manufacturing highly refined petroleum, synthetic, and vegetable-based products that help you in the shop. They don't have any of the bad stuff. They got a whole lot of the good stuff. They've got more than 100 affiliates throughout the world, a global network that's perfectly integrated with their research and development and manufacturing facilities to offer you guys in the shop the best service available. And so go to hangstifers.com to find out more information. Alan Reinhart always says, like, the one thing that DSR and JFR have in common is Hangstifers metalworking lubricants. We're happy to have them on board, happy to have them helping our WFO radio listeners in their shop. So if you are a machinist, if you've got CNC machines, if you are a machinist and you're not using Hangstifers, but you listen to WFO, why not go to hangstifers.com and check them out, reach out, and get it set up. Hangstifers, metalworking lubricants, trying to make you a little more efficient in the shop. We're going to continue on with the program. Guy who is very efficient in his shop, I am quite sure. Joining us now, time to get into it with Matt Smith, our Pro Stock Motorcycle winner. Matt, welcome back to WFO. Just a couple weeks ago we spoke. Now you have taken the points lead. Congratulations.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it, and thank you for having me on the show.
So I felt like I sensed this about to happen. You know, when we had you on before the countdown started, and sure enough, the body work combined with the fact that you were pushing a not aerodynamic body for so long, like you had big power just to compete. Now you got an aerodynamic body, and it's clearly showing down the racetrack with 2 final rounds and a win.
Yes, we just like you said, we had a not so good aerodynamic bike. You know, it looked good in the wind tunnel, but going down the racetrack, it did not perform like it needed to. And now that we got the body on there, the new EBR body work, it definitely is showing what kind of power we have.
Yes. You have a 21-point lead over Ellie, 41 over Eddie, 49 over Hector Jr., 62 over Andrew. And Jerry's 109 back, but, man, it would be tough to pass all of those racers in front of him. I feel like you definitely got a great start for the championship, and now it's about maintaining. This is something you have been through before and had success. Are you drawing on that success for this countdown battle?
Yes. In 07, we did the same thing. We had the lead and won the championship. 13, we come from behind. And won the championship. And, this year we started 6th in the playoffs, and, we are 2 races now in the countdown. We've been to 2 final rounds, won one of them, and are leading the points. So I do think that we have a very, very good shot of winning the championship. I wouldn't bet against us. As long as we don't have part failures or anything like that, I think we're going to be, pretty tough to beat.
You said when we spoke a couple of weeks ago that you had sorted out your bog problem and at least isolated it, when it happens and what causes it in terms of weather conditions. And obviously that has proven to be true because you haven't had the issue since.
Yeah, the issue was just the gear ratios we run. When we got up to Reinhart and Indy, we were 3,300 feet or up, in encrypted altitude. And I just didn't do my job in changing the ratios like I should have done, to compensate for that. From this point forward, we should be pretty good air everywhere we go except for Vegas. And that kind of tells me what I need to do, at Vegas as far as starting line for where we're at Reinhart and Indy.
All right, let's talk about you round by round. Qualified fifth, had to run Scotty Polachek first round, and you uncork a 0:05 reaction time. So nobody ever takes Scotty lightly. He is a good lever. He was 0:16, but you coupled your great reaction time with a 6:88, strong enough to go to the second round.
Yeah, Scotty was on our team for 3 or 4 years, and I know how good a rider he is, and I know Greg and them have fast Suzuki's over there because it's got Vance and I's power. And, Greg's a little lost on tune-up right now, but looked like he was getting it back there in Q3 and Q4 with Scotty. So I knew I better do my job and, go up there and have a good reaction time and let the bike do the work. And that's what I did.
There you have it. Second round, Joey Gladstone. Joey now on a Liberty Racing bike and has always been a really strong lever, but you left on him and went an 86 with a 9.
Yeah, Joey's another one of those good riders, can lay the tree down. And, Corey and them are struggling a little bit this year. They've got a new program going, and they're making progress. They're making good progress, but, you can't take them lightly because anything can happen at any time. And, I'll go up there, and I wanted to be 30 or 40 on the tree, and that's where I was at. And, I thought that we could turn the wind on with that.
197.45 miles per hour. So, you're building in ET and you're building in speed over the course of eliminations.
Yeah, I just never could up at St. Louis get the bike to run to the 8th mile. We could not couple our speed with the ET that we needed to do. We had good speed all weekend. We had top speed of the meet. About I think every round Sunday we had top speed. But we just couldn't do the ET because I couldn't get the bike to run in second, third, and fourth gear. And I could feel it on the bike. And I tried some stuff third round and tried some stuff fourth round of eliminations, and it didn't seem to matter. So I'm pretty lost on the tune-up with that place right now.
Yeah, says the guy who won the race and is in back-to-back finals. Just saying. Chip Ellis in the semis, the third Harley. And Chip is out there, living the dream. Got a great opportunity to run one of these Harley-Davidsons. This is a very rare opportunity. And you guys left together. He's 39, you're 40. But you powered on to victory, 687.9. And I got to tell you, I've been watching your tuck. These are things, the more I see you guys, the more I learn, the more I know what to watch. And, man, you were tucked in perfectly, or what appeared to be, going up against Chip. He was a little less tucked, and you were able to get on to the victory.
Yeah, Chip lives about 35 minutes from me, here in North Carolina, and we talk all the time, and, he's got a great opportunity there to ride that bike for the Harley guys. But, they're putting a third bike out there to be a blocker, and, it might bite them in the butt this year because they've never done that before, and, I think it's affecting their program. They're not focusing on their own program, and but that's good for the other competitors out there because it's making us look better because we're running good. So all in all, yes, getting tucked, getting more comfortable on the bike. As long as the bike goes straight, you get really tucked and produce some big speeds.
Yeah, 2 races in a row, no Harley in the final round, and, I haven't been keeping track, but it's probably been a long time since that happened. You go to the final against LE. LE is championship competition. That White Alligator Racing team and Nitro Fish, they're really good, and I want to talk to you about, prepping for that. We spoke prior to, right after you won the semifinals, and LE said that you got a space shuttle body on there, joking around. I like that there's, respectful but banter. There's got to be banter. The fans love it. And you guys had a little fun going back and forth before the final.
Yeah, I don't really know why they say we have a space shuttle body because that TL bodywork is just as aerodynamic as the EBR. It's all the same, and I would about bet on that in the wind tunnel. But the biggest thing is that War Racing, Jerry Savoy's team they got Vaccinine's power. They're a good team. Jerry's a great guy. Ellie's a great racer. If you remember last year at Sonoma, we had a photo line finish that showed that I won, but the clock said that he won, but it came up 4 zeros on the ET flip, so it picked the left lane. That's another reason why I chose the left lane in the finals, and we went down to the 4th digit again to show the win light. It just come out on my side of the favor this time, and can't take those guys for granted. They're a fast team, they're a good team, and we've been lucky to beat them the last 2 races, semifinals and finals, and hopefully we can keep that momentum going for the next 4 races.
Yeah, 0.6 of a second. And that's just insanity, insane close. And I know that they wanted to win it big time. But whenever you're in a race like that, it's like, what were you supposed to do to pick up 0.6 of a second? What does it feel like to be in a race that's that close? And as you said, you've been in closer races, actually. Did you have an indication? Like, man, I think I won, or was it all about the light?
No, I just, I knew that the previous round we went 87 and they went 89. And I knew I was missing something on the tune-up, and I figured let's try something a little bit more, opposite of what we did in E3. That didn't work, and that tune-up didn't work neither because we went another 87, and he picked up from an 89 to an 86. So I just knew I had to go up and do my job and hit the tree as hard as I could, and that's what we did. I think I was 006 on the light or 008, one of the two, and he was 16 or 18, and just a good drag race. I wear blinders in my helmet, so I didn't know. I don't try to focus. I focus on my lane and getting tucked and making the straightest run that I can and hit my shift light. And, the light come on the finish line wall, and I knew we got it.
It's crazy. You went 008, he went 018. If you had gone 009, you lose.
It's that tight out there. It's thousandths and thousandths of a second that, you're trying to beat the other competitors, and that's what is making our class really fun right now, because it's just not me running fast. I mean, you got the Harleys, you got Junior, you got Ellie, you got Jerry. There's 5-6 bikes out there that can win at any time right now, and I'm just glad that we were one of them that's able to do it.
Yes. Well, big win for you guys. Let's go back to the run against Hector Jr. out there in Reading. In that, I do notice a couple of times you say you focus on your own run, and you do, but you also watch the other driver as they get to a point. And I kind of want to understand the strategy of that. It has been speculated that that's like gamesmanship, like maybe you're staring them down. But to me, it looks like you're just waiting for them to get to a point of readiness, and then you do your thing. Can you take me through that? Like when you're looking over at your competition, are you looking for eye contact, or are you looking at their bike?
No, most of the time I look over there because I'm ready. And, if they're not ready yet, then I just acknowledge that, they'll give me the nod or their, whoever pats them on the back will tell me that they're ready. And that's all I'm looking at a lot of times. There's instances where some people, they want to stare it down and look at you like me and Andrew do that a lot of times. And it's fun. I love playing the game because I feel like when they play the game with me, I'm in control because I love to do it. And it pumps me up. It gets me more ready. And anytime them guys want to do it, I'm there to sit there, and I got a great big gas tank, and we will sit there and we'll play the game.
That is great. Great to hear. Maybe we'll get one of those in the countdown at some point. But as we mentioned, you are in control. 21 points over LE. Of course, a long, long way to go. Dallas in a couple of weeks. The Auto Club Finals is 1.5 points. It will be really hard to have this thing wrapped before the finals. In fact, it might be impossible. What are you going to do between now and Dallas? Is it, is it testing? Is it looking for horsepower? Or is it make sure your stuff is fresh and just go with what you got?
Yeah, I think with what we've got, 3-4 pretty badass motors right now. And we're just here freshening them up, getting them all ready to make this last 4-race swing. And we're just going to go to Dallas and with our best bullet in and do the best we can and try to grab the number one spot in qualifying, get every bonus point we can, and see what we can do and just extend our lead as much as we can like that, because there's going to be times where people take a shot on you on the tree and you might come up on the losing side. But if we can gain those points in qualifying and qualify number one, number two, and do that, that's what we're after right now. And we'll see where the cars stack up.
Now, the body, you have told us in the past, obviously you've got Elite Motorsports on the side of the bike, and you're like de facto, elite teammate kind of thing. I have heard that the power plant you're running and these V-twins are similar to a couple of cylinders in a Pro Stock engine. I'm wondering, without giving up any speed secret or something like that, can you explain to our listeners, are they similar? Is there technology that comes from Pro Stock in this bike? The folks at Elite, I know that there are other Pro Stock engine builders that have helped out Pro Stock motorcycles. How similar are we talking to what's happening in the combustion chamber of a 500 cubic inch Pro Stock engine to what's going on in yours?
Well, I think as you can see, Larry Morgan is working with Corey Reed and them, and he's been on there all year and even at the end of last year. And it's similar to the Pro Stock car stuff. It's more similar to a mountain motor Pro Stock because we have a great big bore in there. The NHRA Pro Stock cars don't have the bore size that we do, so it's more closer to the big motor IHRA kind of Pro Stock car style motors. But, Elite and them they're doing work with us. We're sharing information. What I find out on tune-up or what might work at one track, I try to give to them. Vice versa, they do the same thing to me. And, we do all our motors in-house here at MSR. And the only thing that Elite and them, basically help us up with is honing. They hone my cylinders because I don't have a honing machine. So, but we do give feedback on, from valve springs to cam designs to all kind of stuff, with people. And that's where we've made the gains at with doing our stuff. And, so it's similar, but it's not, it's not that easy, but it is kind of two cylinders of a V8 motor.
Interesting. No, and that's exactly what we're about. And, I don't know if it's publicized enough that you do all your own stuff. So many guys get their stuff from Vance and Hines, and they're a factory. And I always think that it's amazing that anybody can compete with them, period, because they are a factory. They invent and innovate so much of this stuff. But to think that, Matt Smith is home in North Carolina, got an engine shop building all his engines, not only for you, but for Angie and others. And you're doing the best you can with what you got, and you are now leading the points. Like, that is a big story and should be, I don't know, I think talked about maybe even a little more than it is.
Yeah, you've got the Vance and Hines team, and they do everything in-house. They've got probably 2, 3, 4 CNC machines, and there's no telling how many employees just working on race motors. But every Suzuki team out there buys their motors from Vance and Hines. So Vance and Hines has control of probably, I'd say, 80% of the class out there between the Harleys and all the Suzukis. The Hectors do their own engine work, motors. We do our own stuff, and Mark Burkett rents a motor from us, and then you've got Corey Reed and them doing their own program. So if you look at the big picture, Vance and Hines has a lot of people out there that they're doing stuff for, and like you said, they're a factory, and that's their business, and it's really important for us to do our own thing. And I know the Summit team, Greg and Jason, I think they work with the Harley boys quite a bit, with their stuff. And, it's only acceptable for another Pro Stock team to work with us. And it shows that, with Elite working with us, that we've made gains in the last 2 or 3 years, and we're pretty fast, and I think that people are seeing that, and we do it right here in our little shop here in North Carolina.
Yeah. No, I think it's cool. It's kind of interesting that each Pro Stock team has got like a satellite Pro Stock motorcycle team, or vice versa, depending on how you want to look at it. I know Steve Johnson and Chris McGahey have done some things as well. Just an interesting angle to what's going on in the Pro Stock motorcycle pit. Matt, I want to thank you for coming on the show. Love the bike. I know I told you in person. I might have said it last time we spoke, but the paint scheme on the bike is awesome with the black and the red and the stripes, and it pops. And going down the racetrack looks really good. You're turning on wind lights. You've taken the points lead. lead. Long way to go, but it's very exciting the way this countdown is all playing out. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it, and I just thank all the little people that helped me with this deal. From Lucas Oil to Mark Stockseth to Elite to Greg Butcher, Denzo. Without any of those people there, I wouldn't be racing this year. So I just got to say thank you.
There you go. Matt, thank you very much. What are you doing this weekend? What do you got planned for the so-called weekend off?
Well, I think what we're going to do, we're working here nonstop right now till Saturday, and we might go to the Roval at Charlotte on Sunday. We got tickets to go, and I might take a half a day off and go watch the road course race at Charlotte with the NASCAR deal and see what's going on.
I like that idea. I think it's going to be chaos, and if I had the opportunity to go be there in person for chaos, I would. So I'll be watching your Twitter feed. If you go, be sure to tweet out some pics because I'm sure it's going to be just awesome.
Yeah, I think it's a neat deal, and for them to put it in the playoffs like they're doing, I think that's pretty awesome. I really wish the NHRA would take one of these 4 wide instead of having them both at the beginning of the year. Now that we have one at Charlotte and Vegas, I wish they put one in the playoffs because I think that would mix it up a little bit and make it even more interesting.
Wow, you are the first professional racer that I have heard say that. Let me take it in for a second and think about it. I think everybody wow. So you are advocating for a 4 wide in the playoffs. Matt Smith is two-time champ.
Yeah, take either the first Vegas race or the first Charlotte race and swap it. Let's put a 4 wide in the playoffs because you need something different besides just an average race every race, just because it's a different venue. So let's do one. Let's put it in a 4 wide in the playoffs next year.
All right. I think that it may get started right here. If it ever happens, we're going to take credit for it starting right here. But I don't think so. I think that's a long shot. I think the other racers can't handle it. I just think there are so few racers that have adapted to the 4 wide that they would freak out if we did it in the playoffs. Just my opinion.
I agree with that, but that's what makes you be a champion. You need to be able to do everything, not just one thing good.
What about a chicane right in the middle, like 8th Mile?
Well, some of them cars do that already.
Yeah, no, it is definitely true. It is definitely true. Matt, thank you very much. Give my best to Angie. Enjoy. If you go to the Roval, I will be watching your Twitter feed because, yeah, I think it's going to be wild and fun and very cool. And I do give them credit for doing something different. And I agree with your point, which is don't be afraid to do something different because it can be very exciting. But we'll see you in Dallas. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt. Matt Smith with us here on WFO Radio. Matt and Angie, good people, very nice. She was thrilled that he went on to win 2 final rounds in the countdown. It's definitely not over. Eddie Krawick is going to have something to say about this. L.E. Tonglet coming up 6/10,000ths of a second. Think about if L.E. loses the championship by less than 20 points, that's 6/10,000ths of a second going to make a big difference. But they've got a quick bike as well, and it is still wide open. In fact, Pro Stock Motorcycle, wide open. Funny Car, wide open. Pro Stock, leaning Tanner, but still open. Top Fuel, Steve Torrence, crushing the field, at least as of the moment. But so good. The racing has been so good. Fantastic, in fact. And the Lucas Oil Series categories have been just outstanding as well. We got more to come. Stevie Fast. Oh, yeah. He's getting ready for No Mercy this weekend. He'll be out there tuning. We're going to hear from Steve Jackson. Back-to-back pro-modified wins. We're going to hear what Stevie Fast has to say coming up on the show. Right now, Aerospace Components. Go to aerospacecomponents.com. If you have got a race car and you have yet to replace the brakes with something billet, with something lighter weight, check out Aerospace Components. First of all, they will help your car stop. They've got all kinds of different applications in terms of, is it a full race car? Are you looking for max weight loss? Or do you have like a pro street car that you still run on the street that you want to lose some weight and you want better stopping power, but you don't want to go absolute full race? They've got all that. Shifters, vacuum pumps, everything made of billet that can go on a race car. They got pedal sets. They got the titanium wave rotor. It's made of titanium and not carbon fiber, and it actually saves a whole lot of weight with great stopping power as well, because you don't have to wait for it to be extremely hot. Go to aerospacecomponents.com or just give them a call, 727-347-9915. They've got a state-of-the-art CNC machining center and inspection equipment in their Tampa Bay area facility. They've been doing it for over 30 years, and their name Aerospace Components comes from the fact that they got started in the aerospace industry. Kim Cussy and her team over there have a passion for drag racing. And they got involved in drag racing. They got all these CNC machines. They started making parts and pieces, and now it's just going like gangbusters. So many cars out there with aerospace components, parts, pieces, and components on their cars. Go to the website. Give them a call, 727-347-9915. Made in America for over 30 years. That's Aerospace Components. All right, when we come back, we're going to hear from the man known as Stevie Fast.
This is WFO Radio.
Hey, racers and race fans, I want to tell you about the motorsports guys. Terry McMillan from Elkhart, Indiana, has got a new venture, and we want you to hit the website. They've got all kinds of great new parts, pieces, filters, oils on there, including Amelie's new Pro Racing 70 oil with Molly. It's used by many professional drag racers, including Terry McMillan, for larger turning curves and avoiding those drop cylinder moments. It saves bearings and crankshafts and provides more compression with better ring seal and less fuel in your oil. You can get it at motorsportsguys.com. We'll carry Amelie, they carry Wolf's Head Oil and Lubricants, Molly Filters, K&N Filters, All-Star Performance Racing, and high-performance parts from Motor State Distributing and Lane Automotive. It's going to be a one-stop shop. They're going to have it all. But most importantly, oil, Amelie, better than it has to be since 1903, available at motorsportsguys.com. Check it out. Bookmark it, motorsportsguys.com. Terry McMillan stepping up as a supporter of WFO Radio. Check him out, motorsportsguys.com.
Hey, WFO Universe. Want something for free? Send a self-addressed stamped envelope with plenty of postage, and we'll load it up with free WFO stickers. That's right, I said free. Send your envelope, care of Castello Media /WFO stickers to P.O. Box 848353, Pembroke Pines, Florida 33084. Do it now.
Oh, the sound of a tiny kitten. How great is that? Maybe you should get one. But then what are you going to do about the litter box? The only downside to having a cat. The litter box, like what are you going to do? What are you going to do with the litter box? And the answer is CatSpotLitter.com. The folks at CatSpot have developed something new. Their litter is made with one simple ingredient, and that's coconut. It has no harmful allergens, no chemicals for your feline friend or you, because you got to get in there. CatSpot is 100% all natural. It's both odor eliminating and hypoallergenic. It's made right here in America, and the best part about it is they support NHRA Mellow Yellow drag racing on the side of Scott Palmer's car, guys like Dom Lagana, guys like Joe Castello and WFO Radio. That guy is awful. CatSpotLitter.com. You got to check it out. New supporter of WFO Radio.
WFO Radio is brought to you in part by Extreme Velocity 3 Drag Racing. Download for your mobile device. Win your way on the show. WFO.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
So many people listen to WFO Radio, this podcast, on the way to the drag strip on the weekend, whether they're Lucas Oil Series racers, whether they're Mellow Yellow Series racers and they're jumping on a plane, whether it be, I would hope, bracket racers going to the track, their local track, to battle it out. Whatever it is. Like I used to go to Miami Hollywood Motorsports Park or Moroso Motorsports Park when I was bracket racing on a regular basis. And I am working to get back to the track this November, right after Thanksgiving, the Citrus Nationals. I'm going to try to get back to the racetrack. And we have a lot of listeners that are on their way to the track and a lot of listeners that are in the Lucas Oil Series. I just want to recognize all you folks and say what's up. We had a great weekend this past weekend, and thank you for letting me know, hey, we're out here, we're listening to the show, we're out here checking it out. More Lucas Oil stuff, and great stuff. And we did a Facebook Live. NHRA has really put a lot of emphasis on social media, and we did a Facebook Live with Tim Nicholson, the Super Gas winner, the guy with the reverse throttle stop. You can find that on the WFO Facebook page. And it is really good because the guy goes on to win the event. That's the context of the deal. One of the big things this past weekend, also Samtech Factory Stock Showdown. Leah Pritchett getting back-to-back wins in El Bandito. The championship race really, really tight. Archie Cohn first in the 7s in a Chevy. Leah Pritchett first in the 7s in period overall in a Dodge. And Mark Powick lowest in the 7s, 792. Great stuff. And over the course of the weekend, I read this spot many, many times. Start your education at full speed. The School of Automotive Machinists and Technology can help you accelerate your career as a high-performance engine builder with classroom instruction and practical hands-on experience. We're talking about in the lab, on the dyno, but of course at the track. And Brian Massengill was out there and walking the lanes with the Samtech cars, just so cool. In fact, I did a Staging Lanes video that you can find on the WFO Radio Motorsports Podcast Facebook page. And just looking at the cars, just so awesome. And the folks at Samtech sponsoring the category so that young people out there, or people that want to they're looking for a career, they're passionate about racing, know about the school. In addition to blockhead and CNC programs, Sam now offers motorsport EFI tuning and an Associate of Applied Science degree. Sam is a military-friendly school. It's approved to train veterans and other eligible persons under the GI Bill. Listen, if you're passionate about racing and you're thinking about your career and you want to do something that you love, this is a job that cannot be outsourced, whether it be in the racing field, whether it be in the CNC field. They've got graduates that go on to work for Boeing. So once you have the skills, you can work many different places, and it is a great job because it's not going anywhere. Go to samtech.edu today, and if you decide to go to the school, let them know. You heard about it on WFO Radio, samtech.edu. Next up, Pro Modified. Joining us now, he was the E3 Sparkplugs Pro Modified Series winner in the quickest field in history. He is now a back-to-back winner and is heating up right when it matters most. Stevie Fast Jackson is back on WFO Radio. Steve, welcome back.
What's up, Smoking Joe? How you doing, buddy?
I am great. I'm recovering from the weekend. What a great weekend of Pro Mod racing. Quickest field ever, just qualifying. Insanity. There are dudes that ran 570s and had to go home, and you won the thing. How about you? How do you feel?
Yeah, you talk about recovering from the weekend. It's tough when you have a tough weekend. It takes a couple of days to kind of process it all, man. The thought that a Pro Mod car could run 577 and not get to race on Sunday, I never, 2 weeks ago, I would have told you that was impossible.
And yet, it happened.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy.
It is.
There are cars that went 577. 2 years ago, the number one qualifier at St. Louis was a 581.
Unreal. Well, I can't help but think of, it wasn't that long ago. I mean, yeah, I guess it's kind of a long time now. As we're getting older, we don't realize it. But it wasn't that long. That was like funny car times. Funny cars were running those numbers. That was like a good number in funny car, 570s. And I was loving it. And now pro-modified cars with doors are not qualifying running 570s.
That's right. And these things are unpredictable. They're hard to drive. The fans love them. And, some of that wow and unpredictability is one reason why the class is so popular.
Except your car was going really straight this weekend. I've been watching Shadow 2.0 since Indy, and you're sorting and fighting, and you're up against the clock trying to get the car right. It looks like the car is right. Your runs were really straight, really good down low, and consistent, which is what it takes to win.
Yeah, when we took that thing to Denver and ran the World Series of Pro Mod, I was certain that I had fixed my car. It took me a little while to get that thing. It's a radial tire car built to run on street tires, so it took me a little bit to get it to where she wanted to come out and dance during the day. But it's a hot rod. When we left Indy, we did not change a thing. We didn't change motors. We didn't change ratios. We didn't change anything. I told my guys we got a consistent car. We're going to line this thing up, and it's going to go a 578 or 79 off the trailer. The air was good in St. Louis. And the first run, it moved a little bit right. I gave it, less than an eighth of an inch of steer, bump of preload, and never touched the car the rest of the weekend, just ran it. So
wow.
It's one of them weekends where you don't get to do a lot where it just comes out and does what it's supposed to. It was unbelievable.
All right, so let's talk about you round by round, because when we last left off, we were thinking, is a championship come from behind run? Is it possible? Is it in the cards? And you qualified third. Ricky, who has been struggling, qualified 14th, and that's exactly how you would love to write it out on paper. You got to run the guys ahead of you, and you ran them both. Starting off with Ricky Smith, first round, you're 018, he's 64, and you put a 572 on the board and knocked him out, thus knocking out the points leader.
Yeah, when we were getting ready, we were rolling under the tower. We're getting ready to run the last round of qualifying on Saturday night. I radio, because I'm doing the math in my head. I'm watching these cars go. I know where everybody's qualified. I watched Ricky go down through there, and I told the guys on the radio before we even ran, I said, if nobody moves anybody, we're going to run Ricky first round. Billy keyed up, and he said, you won a championship. Now you got the ball. What are you going to do with it? And for me, I'm not a guy who likes to dodge adversity. Of course, Ricky Smith's a teammate of a Bahrain 1 car. We ideally wouldn't want to draw him up as a first-round opponent. If you want to try to make a run at the championship, I want the ball in my hands. I want to run Janice and Ricky as much as I can. I don't want to rely on other people to take him out. I want to try to take him out. We went up there with the kitchen sink in that deal to run Ricky. Belushi, our other Bahrain 1 teammate, had been 72. I know that they got the same drivetrain, same race car. I was counting on Ricky going up there and running 72, and we went up there to run 72. It wasn't a fluke. That was all she had. Final round every time. I told Billy, I said, Billy Stockland, I said, this is the final round in the first round. I said, you can't blow it up because we got to run 3 more, but if we don't win this one, we can't win the championship. And he cooked me up a good one, and I was fired up on the tree. I know Ricky likes to play a little bit of games up there. There wasn't a lot, but I was ready for it, and I respect him, Brandon, Melissa, Chad, all those folks a lot. Like I said, they're teammates. When they're not racing me, they can get anything I got in my trailer. But when we went up there to win. It was awesome.
Yeah,
I've never heard Billy on the radio hooting and hollering before. When the chutes came out, Billy Stockland, he's not an emotional guy up there on the start line. He's hooting and hollering, so it makes me feel good. It was good.
There you go. And so now one of the points leaders, because they were tied going into the race, is out. Second round, you got to go up against Jim Whiteley, who's got a quick hot rod. Anybody who qualified for this field is dangerous. And Jim Whiteley is a multi-time champ and top alcohol dragster. He won a race earlier this year. He was 55. You were 19, so driver doing his job. And you're 500 quicker with a 574.9 in the middle of the day.
Yeah, I don't ever take Big Stick lightly. That's what I call Jim Whiteley's Big Stick. He's a really good driver. I've raced him before where he's tore my head off on the tree. And those guys have been 573, and their car's running good. Chuck and those guys have a really good handle on that car. Like you said, in a normal field, you don't take anybody lightly. There are normally, in Pro Modified, more people that go home than get to race. This field, there is no duck. So every round really is a final round. That's one reason why the class is exploding in popularity with the fans, is because they get to see, this is not a class where you get to ease up first round, get your car lined up, and then get ready for an opponent. This is you better be ready right now, or you get to pack up. I was up on the wheel for Jim. I mean, every time I run that guy, he took me out in St. Louis here last year in the first round. Jim Whiteley took me out, and I had a really fast hot rod in St. Louis last year. I went 571 last year here. So I don't take those guys lightly. Awesome team, and I hate to run those guys because I like them so much. But once we get in the beams, we're not friends anymore.
Yeah, and you turned on the win light. Now you're going to the semis. The other points leader, when Mike got past first round and Ricky didn't, he became the points leader. And you have an opportunity to take him out, and you got to do it. You're on a mission. You're 034. You left first. He's 47. You run a 73. So you're 72, 74, 73. You got consistency going, and you're consistently quick. And you take down Mike Janis. Now the points leader is on the trailer.
Absolutely, and not only that's an inter-team rivalry right there. That's one of our competitors that we definitely like to crush. I like Mike Janis. I respect him a lot. The sponsor of that car is somebody that, when you got the kind of cubic dollars that they spend, and you've got the talent that's involved in those cars, and you've got the super crew chief at home working on it, it's always fun when we get to race those guys. When Mike went up there and didn't take and didn't run the second round and took the tree, I know why he did it. He was saving his engine. I told my guys right there, we got him. You can't. I don't think you can afford to miss a round when the racetrack is changing like it was. You know, you look at our runs, we went 72, 74, 73, but you got to realize the track heated up almost 30 degrees between those, and the air got 500 feet worse. So we were making way better runs in the second and third round, even though the school boards didn't show it. We were making better runs. And I was going to play with him a little on the tree. I could tell he wasn't on stage. I keyed the radio up, told the boys, I said, I'm just going to go ahead and stage this thing and take it from him. And that was it. When you get to take out both points leaders in one race, that's some pretty serious stuff. At that point, I felt like we were positioned to win.
Yeah, big deal right there, and I'm glad you bring up the fact that he took the bye run the previous round, because a lot of us were talking about, like, is that a good move? And my thought was that he was concerned about blowing it up, or is there a problem? And you guys were all over that as well.
Absolutely not. They didn't have a problem. They didn't even jack it up after that. And that in most racing, that is a smart move. Pro mods have a really quick turnaround on Sundays. Like, one of our biggest enemies is keeping heat out of the engine. And the reason he did that is to save parts to run me. And that's not a mistake. But when the track is changing in temperature as fast as it is, I felt like that we got another crack at it that he didn't, and we learned something. I made some weight and front end height and tire pressure adjustments against him that I never would have made, if we hadn't have made that run. So I'm gonna line that thing up every time I can. I race smart like one time and got crushed. So from now on, I'm just a kid out there having fun.
There you go. Now, final round, Chad Green. Chad gets by Castellano on a red light, which shocked everybody because Castellano set the world on fire with low ET of Earth in qualifying. But you get Chad. And this is a huge round because you got to maximize your opportunity in the points. This thing is not over. We got an expanded schedule. We got more races than ever before. And you do have an opportunity, but this 20 points was mandatory to get. You're 025, 575, taking the win.
Yeah, absolutely. If we were like 7 rounds or something out of the lead in points, or 8 rounds or something, if you're going to try to even assault the championship, you cannot lose a round. I mean, you have to. It's very improbable that we can go run the table, but you have to. You just can't sidestep. You can't make a mistake. I respect those guys a lot. Chad's a good driver. My teammate, Calla Belushi, they got the same drivetrain, same car, same type of motor that went 72. And those guys are capable of running that. Everyone is capable of running that, and that's why this class is so exciting. Absolutely did not take him lightly. We left it stood in there, pretty much top fuel off in it from the run before. I thought that was a smart move. I was going to take a roll of the dice on the tree, and it worked out. But, yeah, we got to get those points. You can't let one go by. We're still way out from the points lead, so it's not on my radar yet, but I sure would love to roll into Vegas and let the fans get to watch 3 or 4 cars duke it out.
Well, you're 87 out of the lead, which is Janice. Ricky is right between you guys. He's 46 out of the lead, basically 40 ahead of you. It's doable, but you need a little help, meaning those guys have some problems early, and you need to keep going. But it looks like you got a pretty decent handle on your car, and it's doing what you want it to do. So you're in a good position to put on a real show and charge towards the front here in these last couple of races.
Absolutely. You're going to have some luck. I mean, can't have anything fall off, can't DNQ, can't go out first round, can't go out second round. You might could go out third round if they have a bad race or something. But, it's going to be a Cinderella story. If we were to manage to even be in the hunt for that thing, if I can go into Vegas and be a couple rounds out and say, hey, if something miraculous happens, we got a shot at it, that would be awesome. But, yeah, right now I'm focused on qualifying and smashing people in the ground, and if you continue to smash people in the ground, you'll end up where you need to be by the end of the season. I love this stuff. I'm having more fun pro modified racing right now than I have my whole life.
See, that's great to hear because we wanted, when you first came to the NHRA, it was like, is he going to like this stuff? Is this what's going to happen? We didn't know. And it's great that you are loving it and you're putting on a show. But this weekend, though, you're going back to the old world, but not going to be racing. That's got to be a little bit of a bummer for you.
It's killing me. I'm on the way down there right now. I'm used to having a semi-truck trailer full of motors and parts behind me. I got a scooter in the bed of my truck and a laptop. It's just hard on me, man. I love small tire racing, love grudge racing. Going down here to this race that I feel like I helped kind of build without a race car, I'm second guessing it right now. I literally left the shop right before we got on the phone, and I'm looking at the car, and I was thinking, man, we can do it. I could still make it. And then, I could still convert it and make it down there and go win that deal. And then I'm thinking, no, that's not really good. It's not smart. So I had to get in my truck and haul butt before I did something stupid. But, yeah, it's going to be fun. I love that race. Donald puts on an awesome show. The radio small tire grudge outlaw crowd are my family, and I love spending a week. It's going to be a way different perspective for me getting to hang out with the fans and spend a week hanging out with my buddies without trying to tear their heads off. So it'll be fun.
Now
me and Loans might even do some announcing. They won't put me in the booth. I told Lones. I don't know if that's a good idea, but
no, you should do it. Definitely do it. You've got to do it. In fact, now you got to do it. We're talking about the No Mercy race at South Georgia Motorsports Park and Radio versus the World, which is just a ludicrous category. For my listeners who may not be totally up on it because they're like NHRA people and this is an NHRA show, give me the lowdown on that category. From what I understand, it's basically totally unlimited with exception of the radial tire.
Radio versus the World is as close to Top Fuel on little bitty tires as you can get. There's really no rules. I mean, it's got to have doors, you got to run a radial tire, and you have a weight for your combination. And that's pretty much it. Like, you can be as creative as you want to. There's diesel radio versus the World cars. There's 4 cylinders, 6 cylinders. You got screw-blown cars, roots-blown cars, turbo cars, nitrous cars, and all of them are within 300 or 400 of each other normally. And it's an art form. I'll just put it like that. Finessing 4,000, 4,500 horsepower down the racetrack on a street tire is pretty awesome. We've been 930, 60 foot and ran a 366 at 203 miles an hour on a car on a tire that you can drive to Walmart. So it's exciting. It's cool. Wheel stands, tires. I flipped them over, crashed them. Pretty much anything you want to see or don't want to see, you're going to see at a Radio versus World race.
Yeah, they're very exciting stuff. Totally highlight reel show and wild stuff. Very interesting as it goes on. Well, good luck this weekend. If you go in the booth, I have no doubt you're going to do a great job and you'll have a whole lot of fun. But we'd rather see you behind the wheel, of course. But I know why you're keeping your powder dry. Stevie, good luck. Thanks for coming on WFO Radio to debrief with us about the victory. Got a couple more races. You're right in the mix. You're putting on a show. That's exactly why we want you here. Thanks for coming on the show.
We're going to do this 3 more times. 3 more times we're going to do this.
There you go. Yeah, man. I love it. I love knowing who's going to be on the show in advance. It makes my job a lot easier.
Thank you, Joe.
Steve Jackson with us here on WFO Radio. Back-to-back E3 Spark Plugs Pro Modified Series wins. And huge personality. You obviously can tell. This guy was famous before he even started running E3 Spark Plugs Pro Mod due to his outlaw drag radial stuff. But it's his swagger. He's got that swag is what it is. He's got that swag. And Pro Mod is great. The category is growing like gangbusters, and people love it. And there are so many great cars. There's way more great cars than there are great positions. But we're seeing what happens. And I give you Pro Modified as a study in what happens when you elevate any category. And the best of the best all start competing, and the cream rises to the top. It becomes very, very challenging. And to run 570, like, hey, I ran 579. Yeah, load up, go home. Get out of here. That is insanity. Insanity, but also so much fun. And Stevie Fast getting the job done. And just over 80 points out, he has got a shot. He has got a shot to go on and win the title, coming from behind against Mike Janis and Ricky Smith, because there are so many good cars. Those two guys could get beaten first round, and Steve goes on and wins the race, and there it is. There's your 80 points. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. All right, we're going to take one more break, then my time. I want to tell you a little bit about a couple of things that are happening this weekend for me and something that has to do with my own bracket racing. And I lost a great friend over the past weekend. I want to pay a little tribute to him, talk a little racing. But right now I want to tell you about audible.com/WFO Nitro. Now, if you have listened to other podcasts or other things, you probably have heard audible.com/WFO Nitro, meaning that is our independent link so that they know that you are coming from here. And they love to advertise on podcasts because you guys are already listeners. You understand to listen. And that has been my thing, starting way back in the day when I was working in a warehouse. What makes the day go faster is some sort of engaging audio content. And you listen, you got it on the radio, got a little earbud in, and of course, with the advent of iPhone, iPad, these Android phones, Windows phones, all of this stuff, it makes listening to anything, and that includes books. Audible.com is all about that. They've got all kinds of great content that is available, and you can get your free trial at audible.com/WFO Nitro. Unlike a streaming or rental service, with audible.com, you own the books. Your library is accessible at any time, anywhere, right from your smartphone. There's the Great Listen Guarantee. If you don't like it, you can swap it. And there's all kinds of books. Membership includes one free audiobook a month, exclusive sales, and 30% off all regularly priced audiobooks. And Audible content includes an unmatched selection of audiobooks, original audio shows, news, comedy, from leading audiobook publishers, broadcasters, entertainers, a whole host of stuff. So you're a listener, you like to listen on your iPhone. Well, audible.com/WFO Nitro is where you should go. All kinds of great automotive-themed and motorsports themes, books in there as well. And we're happy to have audible.com/WFO Nitro on board. Give it a shot. Your best solution for digital audio books. And thanks to the folks at audible.com for coming on with WFO Nitro. All right, when we come back, it'll be my time, and we'll talk a little bit about a couple of things that I got going on this coming weekend as we get ready for the AAA Texas Fall Nationals the following weekend.
It ain't just wide open, it's WFO.
Hey, race fans, this is Joe Castello here to tell you about RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. The summer is over. Winter is coming. Make sure you can wake up every day in the cold winter with a cup of Rodax coffee by going to RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com or give him a call. Marvin Rodak, a big WFO radio listener, NHRA fan down there in Fort Worth, Texas, 817-924-6821. They have got over 40 single original coffees to choose from, plus custom special blends like WFO Radio Blend or Bang the Blower. It's what everybody's talking about. Get some for yourself. All specialty grade coffee represents the top 5% of coffee grown in the world. They're all roasted fresh per order. And there are limited edition seasonal and rare micro lots of coffee available. They've got exotics like Sumatra Kopi Luwak, Panama Geisha, Australia, the Hawaii Kona coffee. They've got it all. Get on the phone, 817-924-6821 for RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com.
WFO Radio is brought to you in part by the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology, samtech.edu, education at full speed.
Hussey Performance Copperhead Gaskets. You got to call David directly, 724-318-8292. Hussey Performance Copperhead Gaskets for you engine builders out there. These guys are supporting WFO. Check them out. It is husseyperformance.net.
WFO Radio is brought to you in part by Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the dragster adventure at frankhawley.com.
Aerospace Components, high-quality components made in America for over 30 years. Check it out. That's aerospacecomponents.com. Let them know you heard it on WFO. Catspotlitter.com. Got to check them out. And, of course, think about getting a cat. There's so many little kitties out there that need a home. They need a home. But it's the litter. No, now you've got Cat Spot Litter Patreon.com. So check it out. Cat Spot Litter, new supporter of WFO Radio.
This is Sean from Traverse City, Michigan. You ever get done with an episode of Ignition or Nitro and say, man, that's a good job. I'd like to give them a pat on the back and a cold beer. Well, with Patreon, you can. So send that drink down to Gio and Joe.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
Final segment, WFO Podcast, NHRA Nitro. And if you make it this far, if you're a listener who logged on to hear Stevie Fast and you stick around for my time at the tail end of the show, thank you very much. At the very end of the show, I give information about me, thoughts, opinions, all of that stuff. And it is brought to you by patreon.com/WFO Radio, where our most diehard listeners, the ones who really like what we're doing, who realize we're a small business going up against CBS and NBC as content creators, trying to dominate a couple hours of your listening life over the course of the week, support us directly. And in exchange, they get some extra content. But the fact of the matter is, they're doing it because they want to see us grow and do better. And so you might want to check out patreon.com/WFO Radio, patreon.com/WFO Radio, and get on there and start checking out some of the extra content, bonus stuff behind the scenes, or not. That is up to you. All right, a couple of things. Random fire before I get into my deal. Random fire, not rapid fire, just random, all over the place. Like 1, Samtech Factory Stock Showdown Championship Points Battle, 1 point between 3 drivers. Stephen Bell, Archie Cohn tied, 1 point back Leah, as tweeted by Louis Bloom earlier today. How cool is that? It is very cool. What a great category. And the Dodges, some people were crying a little bit about the weight. But the fact is that they are still covering the field by a lot. So what's supposed to happen, really? Right? All these other categories with multiple combinations, they don't just let one combination dominate. They try to make it as equal as possible. So what's the complaining about? 792 with a 9. That was unreal. And seeing the cars running the 7s is so much cooler than seeing them running the 8s. Just saying. It's true. It's true. There's some random fire action for you. But I do want to say, to get a little more serious at this moment, this past week here in South Florida, we lost one of our longtime racers who happened to be a friend of mine and everybody, not just mine. He was a friend. He's my neighbor, but he also was a great friend. His name was Gary Bird. And Gary Bird had a dragster many years ago, said Birdman on the side, B-Y-R-D. Passed away after a long battle with cancer. And I was very fortunate that I got to go see him the previous week. I got to go see him and spend a little time with him before he passed on. And very sad, but also, he was just battling for several years. And I just want to say, you guys don't know this man, but what a nice guy. What a passionate drag racer. Made it to the semifinals of the Gator Nationals in Super Comp 1 year. Maybe, I'm just going to guess, 2002, 98, somewhere in there. And made it to the finals of the Gator Nationals. And was one of the first locally in the Miami area to do 190 miles per hour on a throttle stop. That was kind of his thing. Birdman, Gary Bird. And his funeral is this weekend, and it is just very sad. And what I would say to all of you is, your friends, the people you love, make sure that they know it, and the people that you like them, and you just have a great relationship, and you love racing together. Make sure they know it, because in the end, when people are gone, they're gone, and it's just awful. And so that is the sad news. My weekend is going from negative situation, but we always, the South Florida drag racing community is such that we're in a tough spot because we lost our track years ago, and we were all fixtures at a place called Miami Hollywood Speedway, and it went by many names. Miami Hollywood Dragway, Miami Hollywood Motorsports Park was what it was at the end, and Dick Moroso had owned it and controlled it for many, many years, and really brought it back from its dark days of the early 1980s. And one day I'm going to do a tribute show, and I actually plan to do some audio content at the event I'm about to tell you about. But this facility opened in March 1966, and I would say that it was one of the first true super tracks because it had the potential and ran 4-wide drag racing. They had what they called the Georgia Lane, which was a little narrower than the actual track, but they did run 4-wide drag races there, and I believe they ran 4-wide jet cars there. But also, it had a 0.37-mile oval track, a high-banked oval track. Think Bristol, high banks, but 0.375 miles. It also had a road course, but the real sell was the drag strip. And the drag strip had a giant concrete grandstand made out of those prefab concrete tees that you see. Sometimes the warehouses are made out of them, or highway overpasses used to be made out of them. Sometimes walking bridges are made out of them. They built just like a stairway of these prefab concrete tees. And so it was very interesting because it could hold like thousands and thousands of people, but people would bring blankets and coolers because everybody had like a 4-foot wide place to sit as opposed to a bleacher. And so you would go up into the stands and you would just kind of camp out there, and all kinds of great stuff happened. And that was the first drag strip that I ever went to. And I went there probably, and I was born in 1973. I probably went there in 1974. And I remember my first time there. I remember it. My first time that I remember being there, I think I went there in one of those little plastic seats as a real little kid. But the first time I remember being there as just a small child, I remember being on the other side of the track where there was wooden bleachers and being afraid to fall through the bleachers. And spent a lot of time going out there and, as a kid. Even when we lived east of the track in Hollywood, at most, it was a 20-minute drive, and it was out in the middle of the Everglades by a place called the Sportatorium, and which was a concert venue where everybody got, they were doing drugs, and it was crazy. But we would go to this track. They had radio commercials, Miami Hollywood, Speedway Park, Saturday night, Under the Lights, just like all the other drag strips you'd hear of. And Garlitz was there. Muldowney was there. Everybody was there. Jungle Jim Lieberman was there. Everybody was there. Coca-Cola Cavalcade of Funny Cars, Vanishing Point, Slammin' Sammy Miller. Everybody was there. And they went through Miami Hollywood. It was part of the circuit of drag strips from 1966 to 1992. And in 1992, it had become mostly a bracket track, and they had kind of slowed down big booked-in shows as things had changed. But ultimately, it closed down because Hurricane Andrew had come and hit South Florida and wiped out the southernmost tip of Florida, down where Homestead Miami Speedway is. And all of those people needed new housing. And here was a big tract of land that the developers came in and made them an offer that they couldn't refuse and turned it into what is now West Pembroke Pines. And so there is no trace of the track at the point. There is now. And so it's sad and it's heartbreaking to lose your home track. And I tell Brian Loans and I tell others that, still have their first track, their home track that's 20 minutes from home. It radically changes your whole perspective. It changed our drag racing economy here in South Florida. We used to have 5, 10 engine builders and 4 to 7 chassis shops and people working, selling parts and speed shops. We had super shops and we had Murray Speed and Custom and we had all these places down here, and we still have some of them. But once the drag strip went away and Wednesday, Thursday test and tune, Saturday night bracket racing went away, a lot of that dried up. In fact, many of people that I know moved to West Palm. They got out of South Florida. Like, there's no track here. We got to go up to where Moroso Motorsports Park is. And it was just sad. Now, I was there, occasionally, as whenever my parents would bring me in the 70s as a little boy, and then in the 80s with my dad. And we started working on our own 78 Trans Am. I remember driving it out there and testing tuning. And my first bracket racing, my first run down the track was there, 1911 ET, and a black 1986 GMC pickup truck. And I felt like I was like warp speed on the Millennium Falcon. Like, wow, wide open throttle. It was great. And then my parents encouraged me, like, you're at the track every Wednesday and every Thursday hanging out there. Why don't you try to get a job there? And so I went up to the tower and they said, can you announce? And I was like, yeah, I do announcements in school and the rest is history. Next thing you know, I'm the announcer. And my friend Dale Hanks, who I met at the time, was an announcer there as well. And even there was a girl announcer. Her name was Shanae. Her dad raced, and we all rotated announcing in these final years of Miami Hollywood. They had a high school category, one of the first high school categories that I remember. We were all super stoked. And a good friend of mine who is occasional big money bracket racer named Dave Hoxie from Florida, great racer. He and I would leave school and go to the track on Wednesday nights to bracket race. It was great, and all of that is now gone, and it's very sad. Plus, I'm no longer in high school. But that's where I learned to bracket race. I won the high school track championship out there in 1991, which was my senior year. Now, I do, sometimes have, I wouldn't call them regrets that I spent every Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday out at the racetrack while other kids were having like wild high school parties and all kinds of stuff was going down. And my memories are mostly from the track. I did do a fair amount of that. I got my shots in. Certain parties, certain stuff. But very often it was after bracket racing on Saturday night. Think about that. Think about that. I remember one time my friends came out to the track, and I was, Saturday night eliminations in a GMC pickup truck early on before the race car was, going. And I never really had friends come to the track, and they were, like, really into it and really impressed. But I was entertaining. And time came for eliminations, semifinals. I thought the hood was down on the truck. It wasn't. 800 foot. Up goes the hood. I had like a 501 light against my great friend Lee Neal, who still helps me today, a.k.a. Fozzie Bear. And, he beat me. Very annoying. Hood going up because I'm entertaining friends at the track. Probably a bad idea. Didn't happen a whole lot after that. Or I could have just closed the hood. But I was a kid. Was there damage? Yes. Was it terrible? No. Just a couple of dents in the hood. Those GMCs were pretty tough. But just so much fun there. Hot Rod Sundays. I remember me and my friend, we rode our bicycles out there once. There was some sort of crazy import drag race going on. We're like, what are these cars? Rotaries. Big in Miami. But then in 1992, the last drag race. I saw Garlits with the Sidewinder out there. I saw Garlits, one of the great stories, and I've told it many, many times. They had the lights were terrible before Dick Moroso came in. The lights were terrible. And what they did was they got one of those searchlights. Remember when nightclubs would open and bars and restaurants would open? They wanted to attract business, and one of the ways to attract business, before Facebook ads, was you would put a light out in front and it would be shining in the sky. And believe it or not, people would be like, what is that light? Let's go over to see what it is. Can you believe that worked? And it did. What do you mean? People would go. There used to be searchlights everywhere. You don't see searchlights anymore. Do you? I don't. But they had a searchlight, and they pointed it down the track. And so the announcer's on the mic, and everybody is like, Garlits, here's Garlits, and the light goes out. Now we're sitting in darkness. And people were wild in the 80s. Everybody talks about how things are a little more sterile now. Well, people were throwing beer bottles, man. It was crazy. And back in the day, like a lot of crazy stuff happened in Miami Hollywood. And I'm sure everybody's got 100 stories about their drag strip and crazy stuff. But our stories are pretty nutty, man. Miami Hollywood. A lot of stuff. So the light goes out and people are angry. No Garlits. What's up? So 5 minutes goes by. 10 minutes goes by. 20 minutes goes by. They're working on the light. The light won't go on. There's a problem. People are yelling. They're shouting. They're booing. They're going crazy. Finally, Garlitz gets out of his car. Garlitz, you see him right there. Garlitz is walking over to the light. What's he doing with the light? It's Garlitz. He doesn't know anything about lights, does he? Light comes on. Big Daddy fixed the light. Goes back to the car, jumps in the car, and makes a pass. And the place went nuts. It was bedlam. So why am I telling you all these stories? Well, my friend Gary, who I met at Miami Hollywood and knew for many years afterwards, also has created a Miami Hollywood reunion race. The Miami Hollywood reunion race was the event that I went to a year ago as part of the Citrus Nationals. And, all the racers who don't race anymore because going up to Moroso on a weekly basis, Palm Beach International Raceway now, is maybe too much of a hassle, or everyone's got old, or no one's got money, or their car is outdated, or who knows. Like me, I'm just busy. And we try to go to that one race. That race was a spinoff of a Miami Hollywood reunion car show / Hall of Fame that was created by a friend of mine, Eugene Reedy, who used to go out there. And there's a board and a Hall of Fame, and they have honored over the years racers who were, stand out for one reason or another at Miami Hollywood Speedway. And the board, Jerry Gwynn is on the board. There's a whole thing. Well, this past year at the Chevrolet Performance U.S. Nationals, meaning like 6 weeks ago, at the Chevrolet Performance U.S. Nationals, I'm sitting at the top end in my workstation, looking at the screen, interviewing drivers as they get out of their cars, and I get a text. I am going to be inducted in the 2018 class of the Miami Hollywood Speedway Hall of Fame. And I am absolutely thrilled by it. And I was like blown away for a second, like, oh my goodness. And so super excited to talk to my friends about it and talk to, Gary Bird, my friend, about it. And unfortunately, he passed away last week. This Saturday is his funeral, and Sunday is the Miami Hollywood Speedway reunion Hall of Fame induction ceremony. And, from sadness to happiness or whatever, I'm going to spend this weekend with my South Florida drag racing community. I'm looking forward to it. My friends Rick McDonough, Mike Weatherwax, and others also inducted. Randy Larson also inducted. Jungle Jim and Jungle Pam being inducted. Ted Ascandy and others being inducted. And there's Carolina Ale House in Weston, Florida, hours from 11 to 3. If you happen to be in Florida, you definitely want to go out there. But I am just excited and thrilled and honored and sad and bummed out and disappointed all at the same time. We are going to bring our race car out there. There's a car show, and we're going to, kind of gather together on this Sunday afternoon. I'm sure we'll be watching the Perfect Miami Dolphins take on the Patriots as well out in Miami Hollywood. And so, what am I telling you about? Well, I'm thrilled that I'm being inducted into a Hall of Fame, period, let alone a Hall of Fame at the place that I elected to spend my formative drag racing years with a whole bunch of really cool and sharp people. And some sketchy ones too, right? Sketchy ones. Where I learned to announce, where I learned to bracket race. And I have said it over and over. And it's sad. It's, this is like good news, bad news. Drag racing. Do we like it? Do we think it is a successful sport? Do we think it can be popular? Can it grow? The answer is yes to all of those questions. You must create a track in South Florida. Palm Beach is great, but if you live in Miami, it takes an hour and 45 minutes to get up there. Joe Castello struggles to get up there for Test and Tune. It's an hour and 15 minutes to get up there. The racers and the people are in Miami. We're a huge market, a cosmopolitan market. We're the gateway to the Americans. You've got Islanders. You've got South Americans. You have got every kind of car person on the planet in South Florida. I have said this over and over again. I will say it right now. If tomorrow there was an NHRA national event in the Miami market, it would be the most well-attended NHRA national event immediately, right off the bat. Thousands of people would show up on a Wednesday, Friday, or Saturday at Miami Hollywood. You had celebrities sneaking out to race their cars, football players. Now it sounds like a joke. Vanilla Ice would go out there. He had a Typhoon. He would be racing at the pinnacle of his stardom. We have a car culture that is unrivaled by any other than Southern California. The car culture of South Florida, because of our weather and our roads. We sell more convertibles than anywhere else in the country, as far as I know. We sell more Ferraris than anywhere else in the country. Everybody has got some sort of car that they love, whether they race it or cruise it or hang out. It's really a travesty that we lost this facility because it was on, many, many acres and had much room to grow. And unfortunately, Hurricane Andrew really was the catalyst to lose the track, because they needed new housing and everybody had these insurance checks, like, hey, we just need something right now. We got to move. Let's go. And it is very sad. So the Miami Hollywood Speedway reunion this Sunday, the Miami Hollywood Speedway Hall of Fame induction Sunday, and my great friend Gary's funeral Saturday night. So I'll be hanging out with the Miami Hollywood racers. And really sad. If anybody out there in the WFO audience happens to have a recording of an old radio commercial, I would love to get my hands on that. And I'm just putting the word out generally. And there you go. This has been my time. So that's what I'm doing this weekend. And, maybe we got some racers out there, people out there. Al Segrini. Talked with Al Segrini about Miami Hollywood when I was hanging out with Al. Just so sad that such a, some people thought, like Lex Dudas has said that it was, not a great place. And when he got there, it wasn't. But the infrastructure and the layout and the fact that you had room for all kinds of stuff, we had so much fun. Super Pro, Saturday night bracket racing, easily 100 cars, easily back in the 1980s. And, Sportsman Eliminator, the ramp trucks going down the racetrack. Benny the Bomb and a guy on the skid plate. Jerry Gwynn towed a guy on a skid plate down the track. And, Slam and Sammy Miller, and just everybody you can think of from drag racing lore all went through Miami Hollywood. And, until it happens, I'll be doubting, but I'm going to be a part of the Hall of Fame. How crazy is that? All right, everybody, that's going to do it. Thanks to the Patreons, of course. This segment brought to you by Patreon. Thanks to our guests, Stevie Fast, Matt Smith, Tanner Gray, Steve Torrence. You want to hear Torrence, you got to listen to WFO. That's the deal. Torrence is like restricting his media, except WFO is approved media. And just thrilled for that team, Bobby and Dom Lagana. They got to get this thing out of the way so they can focus their energy on New York Yankees baseball coming up real soon, hopefully. Alan Reinhart for coming on the show. For those of you that hung out there at Gateway, came by, swung by, said what's up, said WFO, thank you to you folks as well. 4 races remaining in the NHRA season, just 4 races. But after that, WFO will go right into the offseason, and if you're an experienced WFO radio listener, that's when the really good stuff happens, because we become desperate. And we really go the extra mile. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. Thank you very much for listening to this podcast and listen to my stories and me interview drivers. The archive is wide open and waiting for you. Check out the Ignition Show. Whole lot of fun happening on WFO Ignition. We'll see you next time here on WFO Podcast.
WFO! The views and opinions of the hosts, guests, or callers do not necessarily reflect that of the station ownership, advertisers, or agencies.
I love WFO Radio.